杀掉，再继续打 AOE 伤害。哇！而且一个镜头品直接进来了3个人，他是没用。再来一个聚合射线，加上一个营长，这一波大招齐交，不准备哇！不要搞，跳舞直接一个内加跳。
Welcome back, friends. It's been a hot minute, but Season 2 of Contenders China is finally upon us for 2021. Last season was incredible, went out with a bang. Team Chaser pulling off the incredible and beating out Billy at the end of this season. We get to crown a new champion in not too long. Opening up the season, it is myself, Doran. I'm joined by the always wonderful Moxie alongside me. Mox, how excited are you for tonight?
We're back! It feels so good to be back. And we can right off the gate address the fact that we're not playing on current patch. So if you're a squishy support, you don't have to worry. You're not going to have flashbacks to all of your quick play games or a Doomfist or a Genji just ripped through your backline. This is hitscan nerf patch, and that means that we might get to see the region pull out something that we haven't really seen before, have we? China has never really been wanting to opt into that Pharah.
No, but we might get a little bit of it today, right? Billy is played around a little bit with subbing in October 4. We don't know what other teams really want to go for. The meta's wide open. Korea's playing Orisa. NA still wants to play Rush every once in a while, but it feels like everybody's kind of landed on ball. And the Winston compositions are still in. It's still Chinese contenders, so double bubble is always in the cards.
Yeah, I mean, Winston Zarya is really where this composition came from, right? It spread all over the world when people started realizing that you could still have that peel, but that frontline presence, and it really is one of those very effective compositions, and no matter with the hero bans coming through, it can still be ran. Lucio being out of the picture isn't really going to matter a lot to this region. They still get to lock Anna and Brick.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly really what they want, but we also know that these teams like to run specific things, so let's take a look at our bracket and what these teams are going to be running into for the day. Our first 2 matches to open up Chinese contenders for the season. Billy versus the brand new Ultra Prime Academy, and Team Chaser versus T1W, a matchup that we have seen time and time again.
Yeah, I mean, if you're Ultra Prime Academy, though, you have to be feeling just a little bit of trepidation, right? Looking at how the regular Season 2 lasted. Billy have been running absolutely rampant in this region. They didn't drop a single map in any of their regular season matches. They are currently sitting at 21 maps in a row. So if you're Ultra Prime Academy, you've got just a little bit of a tough start.
I mean, I think it's a tough time for everybody. If we've seen the standings from this season, let's start off with the obvious. Billy 21-0 is just ridiculous to open things up. But there's so much stratification everywhere between these two teams. Billy 3-0 Team Chaser 3-0 T1W, and T1W 3-0 Ultra Prime. It feels like there's never been a more clear standing, but it feels like every time that we start to get clear standings in China, somebody's got to upset it somewhere, which happened at the end of last season, and you know what? Maybe tonight's the night.
I mean, if you're Billy, you're out for blood, right? If you manage to go up against Ultra Prime Academy and win, you get a chance to match up formally against Team Chaser on the broadcast and beat them and get just a little bit more of a revenge for them grabbing what arguably was your title. Everyone came into that final match of the last season thinking that Billy had it in the bag, and Team Chaser walked away on top.
I mean, you'd think it was like rightfully theirs, but it's like, was it really, right? Team Chaser came in, Aprita looked incredible, and now I think it's like when we watched the San Francisco Shock beat Now, right? Every time the San Francisco Shock get beat, they come back the next day and they just take out their anger on whatever poor sap they face the next time. And Billy's done that. Billy got beaten grand finals. They went home and they said, bring in Liga. And now they're just powered up even more. And poor Ultra Prime Academy is standing straight in front of them. And you know what? I want to see this match. I want to see Ultra Prime Academy really pull something off. They've got almost an entirely new roster coming into this. That'll be really exciting to see them go to work with. But they've got to work around those hero pools that we mentioned before. So let's take a look at those.
Yeah, hero bans, and there's a big 2 in the DPS lineup for this region. Echo and Ash both out and being on that hit scan nerf where we see the damage fall off move from 50% to 30%. That opens the door not for Echo, but for Pharah. tank lineup, on the other hand, you pointed it out, we could potentially see the Ursa come out. We could see the Bull, the Zen, the Zarya. Well, it's all going to be up in the air because we know Billy's starting roster, and we also know that it's not going to be who we expected to come out. It's going to be Alfie and Pineapple.
Yeah, as opposed to October, who would be locking in the far. And as we head into control maps to start out, I'm not too surprised to see that at the very least they want to play that slightly more controlling style. They want to be able to dive more consistently and onto one target because look at the tank line, right? You're talking about 800 and Liga. If that doesn't scream we want to play Ball Diva, I don't know what does.
Yeah, but first off, before we get to look at those team rosters, we're going to have a quick look at the map pool and how these stages are going to be coming up. Control, as always, is going to be up first. Then we head over to Escort, Assault, Hybrid, and if we get to see a big old draw at the end of the day, we go all the way back and loop into another map of Control.
Yep, it's pretty normal things, but what's not normal this season? Predictions! We've upped it one more time. We've included the match score, making it that much more likely that we're entirely wrong, but I mean, I think it's pretty obvious. Looking at everyone else's that aren't my predictions, they're pretty obvious choices, right? I think you and Kenobi going for 3-1s. You're believing in T1W. I've got to respect it. Mine, they look like they were chosen by me. They weren't. I legitimately flipped coins for these. I'm going by random chance every week. I want to see how well this actually ends up going, and I just put in whatever scores seem suitable. But even the coin decided that Billy and Team Chaser were going to win these games, so I feel like it's fate.
I mean, I'm just really sad, right, that Rich's diced in right in time for you to be able to roll those who made them up absolutely
Soon
beautifully.
enough.
But no, it is going to be the coin that decided it, and the coin is agreeing with a whole bunch of us. This first match is looking, at least on paper, like it could be a clean 3-0. And for Billy, they woke up, they chose violence, they want to get to Team Chaser, they want to make this quick.
And well, okay, right? You expect a 3-0 up against a team like Ultra Prime, but Ultra Prime have a lot of questions unanswered, right? They've been playing the regular season, but this is a team that's likely going to get significantly better with time because if you look at all the rosters, Ultra Prime is the one that has had the least opportunity to develop so far since they changed up almost everything after last season. But let's take a look at BLG's to open things up, and we'll get to them just a little bit later because we talked about this roster. I mean, it's virtually the same, and then you add in Liga to the mix. This is a scary team to play.
This is like going from Super Saiyan to Super Saiyan, Ultra Prime Super Saiyan, whatever they're up to now. Alpha Yi and Pineapple has always been a really formidable duo, right? We got to see Alpha Yi on his absolute prime, playing the Echo and absolutely ripping every single person that he met apart in that last season. But with Echo coming into the hero bans, he's not going to be able to come out on that. So we might see the shift onto the Farah. But yeah, there it is. There's the pickup, the two-way contract. Liga is coming out and paired up with 800, and then you look at that support lineup, how well Irony and Hyunjae are going to be able to keep these two up and synergize, getting the Winston to go in, get a little bit of that ult charge, take the damage, get the nano boost, come in, make sure that you actually go for the throat in that dive. That's going to be something that Ultra Prime Academy are going to have to be concerned about, and as we actually get to see Ultra Prime Academy's roster, a lot of this for me is really going to be determined on how well they are able to deal with Billy's aggression. This is a team that knows they have that star power behind them, and they're going to be coming in really aggressively looking for those kills.
And as much as we only get to see one player of this Ultra Prime Academy roster, the other 5, they're definitely there and they're going to be playing. While the opposing side brought in Liga, Mike Haley drops back down to Ultra Prime Academy and is not something to fool around with. Funnily enough, though, you're looking at a matchup that we've seen in seasons past of Chinese Contenders with Pineapple versus Mike Haley, which was traditionally Mike Haley was subbed in on respective teams in order to play Ashe against Pineapple. It felt like they were one of the few people that could kind of go toe-to-toe and stop Pineapple from popping off. But now, Ashe isn't in, so Pineapple's kind of... Obviously, Pineapple's got a wide enough hero pool. I don't think there's too much struggle. But also, Echo being out for Alpha Yi, these DPS are going to be not forced onto uncomfortable places, but certainly not their strong comfort picks.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting one, right, with how well they're going to be able to adapt into the pools. We saw last season when Tracer came out of the way, how much it affected players like Caprita. Are Billy's DPS lineup going to be able to still feel as comfortable as we've seen them in the past with their 2 best picks going by the wayside?
Well, we'll figure it out. We're about to hop into map number 1. Ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be Ilios opening up Chinese Contenders Season 2 2021. I can only dream of the compositions we get to see here. It's bound to be chaotic. It's bound to be fast-paced. You guys know how Chinese Contenders goes.
I mean, I've got my fingers crossed for Farmer, but maybe that's just the personal support main MB hoping that we get to see that one getting locked into the skies. At the moment, it's never going to be there because both of these teams are teasing that Symmetra so they can just get the teleporters out of the spawn ship. You can already see the out of rotation heroes. We're going to be talking about these a lot. Ashe and Echo both taken out of the lineup for the DPS, and that means that we might get to see a little bit more variety. We might not just get to see the mirror matchup coming out between these.
That's what we're getting. Oh boy, Ion is staying on this. Alongside the Diva as well. This is somewhat of a new development that we get from these teams. Smiley, even a late swap onto Soldier 76 is going to be bringing in a little bit of action.
Yeah, Ion actually going to be coming in on the Orisa. So Up Academy going to be going for a very anti-dive composition. Billy running what they love. This dive composition, which is going to try and contest, but you have to worry about the immortality field. The way that Orisa works with the Fortify, it's going to be so hard to get on top of the comp.
And for the time being, Billy were doing a good job of poking and prodding away, but 800 trades back for 2, make it 3 on the Ion. My God, what an impact the ball's already having.
Oh, that is the worst thing that could have happened for Ultra Prime Academy. Orisa is so slow. You need to win this first fight to be able to set yourself up on this point and poke away at Billy before the dive is ready to come straight at you. But 800 with that boop is already up to 74% towards those mines. And the second Orisa settles into position, they're going to be coming out right on top.
And we know that with Alpha E and Liga, you can really start rolling in those ultimates. The second you get Pulse Bomb, Graviton, Mines, Dragon, right? They've got so many combos to them that they can use whenever they want. But like you mentioned, it's the Mines to start things out. And it's Ultra Prime Academy who have to push into them. It's going to be a real pain in the butt to pull this one off. But starting off, getting a little bit of early positioning into the fight. Want to decide which side of the point they wrap around here. The Orisa shield is on cooldown for the time being. Going in, goes for a pile driver combo with the Dragon. Doesn't pick anybody off though. Backing back away to point. Billy still have those mines in their back pocket.
They're still just waiting for Ultra Prime Academy to set up. Amplification Matrix is going to be there, and immediately the mines coming out forces Chiron to use that immortality field, keeping the Orisa up. Ion is still alive somehow. And Billy not able to actually get the flood of kills they were looking for.
I'll tell you what, not much has gone down, save for a big pulse bomb onto ZXZ, and immediately 2 more are going to follow. Goodness gracious, that fight collapsed, and it wasn't even his ultimate that did it. I mean, the pulse bomb was nice on to break, but you have to think that it was just a strong dive from Billy.
I mean, not only that, but Billy know what they're doing. They're working this time bank so expertly, right? Pineapple's already almost at another Dragon Strike. League is going to have that Graviton to be able to couple it up. You bait out Immortality Field from Chiron, and the way that Ultra Prime Academy are playing, this composition has to be so close. Yes, Mykeely can try and eat Graviton, but if you don't get that eat on the ultimate, it's fight over.
I mean, almost more important than that, they have both their support elements going into this. They just rally into this push, and it's an easy finish off. 800 is going to go for a 3-piece dinner off the edge of the map. Does so beautifully. Dragon over top for Pineapple is just a cherry on top of all that. 94%. League has still got a Graviton. Oh, this is going to get thrown into the spawn. This is rude, but there's no way you get to this point for Ultra Prime. It's been a tough point for Up Academy.
Yeah, that is unfortunately the reality, right? When you lose that first fight and you're running Orisa, that every single time the fight afterwards, the Orisa is never going to see that point again unless you come in with the first kill to immediately swing things into your favor. And Billy were playing so expertly that dive composition where they came in, but a little bit of time off the clock, did a little bit of damage, built up their ultimates, and just poked and prodded away as we get to see Alpha E gonna be coming out on the far as we roll over to Lighthouse. Seawaves McCree can now actually have a little bit more impact, right? They ran it on Ruins, trying to use the flashbang to stop this dive composition from being as potent, but now it's not the flashbang that you're trying to use. It's the hit scan potential to keep this Pharah out of the sky.
I mean, I return with what hit scan potential. Those fall-offs are brutal. Alpha E's gonna sit just, meters away, get poked at 15 damage at a time. Up are really gonna struggle to deal with this, but with 2 hit scan, maybe they can pull it off. And like you mentioned, this first fight's so important, so keeping out of the sky, keeping the Pharah off of on top of you, exactly what you need to do. But no, Alfie's closed the distance, and now this Pharah becomes that much more difficult to deal with. It's what a Pharah wants out of everything, is just to get on top of the team so that they can use those vertical sightlines to their advantage. It was a little too far, though, and Smiley's gonna be able to take him out as BLG take over the point.
There's no way you go for that rest. That would be a little bit aggressive to say the least, but Hyundai is going to just keep damage boosting Pineapple. 800 going down does mean that Billy have to be a little bit more cautious, and Luffy is actually going to swap onto the Genji, trying to get into that backline and just bait out Cairo into using those really important utilities. But Mycalion, this D.Va, has the mobility to be able to contest the high ground and the low ground. Billy without their tank to keep stalling that point, have given up the point, and now Smiley can take position on the soldier.
We really get to see Ultra Prime bring into the play, though, what they've been preparing. What can this Orisa do? Can they lock them out of the point how they wanted to?
That's really what you have to worry about, right? If you're Billy coming in up against an Orisa, now you're actually going to be the one taking the poke damage. You have to try and find a way around this shield. The thing is, Billy's composition is so mobile, they don't have to worry about where the Orisa sets up. They can always get around it.
Now they've got an ultimate to get into it as well. Nano boost for Irony. C-Wave gonna pick up one, though, for Up Academy. Rotation around the side, playing off of the point. There's the push coming in, throwing a Nano onto a Genji who doesn't quite have the blade up. Alfie drops low and can't really get much done to flex the entirety of the amplification matrix, at least buy some time for Billy, but it's not necessarily the eliminations they need.
I mean, it's buying ultimates from Ultra Prime Academy, though. That's already going to be Supercharger, Amplification Matrix, Valkyrie, and now Tagfighter on top. But Smiley gets taken out by Pineapple. The Dragon Strike had already come through, splitting Ultra Prime Academy up, making sure that they had to put these ultimates, and now Billy can take the fight where they wanted to, onto the point.
Oh, it was such a good push by 800 as well. Just splits the team, forcing the Orisa away from the rest of them with the mines, and that's what allows them to close out that fight.
Yeah, Billy, you can tell the second that they go up against an Orisa composition, they know exactly what they need to do. Split the team. Make sure that you can catch the Orisa away from the support so that she can't just stay up for an absolute eternity. And now ZXZ is actually going to be forced onto the Brigida. Smiley onto the Tracer, just trying to find a little bit of bother to make sure that Irony can turn around instead of having to keep the tanks alive. That's trying to save themselves, and that should let you get a little bit more space to get Ion back into this fight on the Orisa once more.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice getting Ion in, but keep an eye on what's coming up for Billy right now. It's Nano Blade for Alpha Yi, and that's a really difficult combo for the opposing side to stop. I mean, yeah, you get an Immortality Field, but it's only going to do so much. Taking out Liga, on the other hand, will definitely take a good chunk of damage away from this team. As Billy debate whether or not they want to use this. They've got to keep the Genji alive for a little bit longer. Dashing over now. Forced out. Do they pop this Nano Blade? They don't even need it. No, it's Pineapple coming up big for them.
Mycalion on the D.Va is going to be there with the defense matrix, a little bit more cover, but Ion has actually given up on the Orisa. They know it's final fight coming through. They need to be mobile. They can't have the Orisa just ground down by a Nano Blade in this next fight. But they're staggering in, and this is exactly what Billy wants.
This is not the prettiest push that they've got going for him. Ion and Smiley are making something of it, though. Nice set of dives out of the dive characters. Bring the point over for Up Academy. Billy forced back, but I think they're willing to because they know they've got so much.
The second that Billy take this fight onto the point, that's where it becomes a little bit dicey for Ultra Prime Academy. They have to be able to initiate, but Billy have got so much mobility. They can just route around all of these sideboardings and avoid the point. Travel out of the way means Nano Blade is completely free. No Immortality Field to shut it down. And this is a massacre!
Alpha, you got everything they wanted more. 800, another one! 800 just doesn't stop with these moves. It's ridiculous. It's just ball div everywhere you go. Someone's flying off, getting environmental, and it's going to be a completely uncontested point here. One Tracer will force overtime, but links into a mine, which is a unfortunate demise, to say the least.
Yeah, Billy, the second that they saw the Baptiste go down, they knew you can just drop mines on point. That means that no matter what you do, you've got the tick percentage, and then Alfie on the Genji just gets to go absolutely ham with the Nano Blade. And it really is, you have to feel bad for Ultra Prime Academy. They knew what they wanted to run, you could tell. They knew where they needed to be, but Billy knew exactly what they had to do to be able to stop them from doing just that.
I mean, I like it from Up Academy, though, right? If you're talking about trying to beat a team that is generally considered better than you, a higher seed, etc., you've got to force imbalance somewhere. It's like playing a higher-rated player in any other game. Trying to play them in just a straight compositional matchup, they're going to beat you a majority of the time, right? You're talking about 800 in Liga playing on Ball and Zarya or Ball and D.Va. One of those two. Matching them would be just throwing away the match, but trying something else, bring a different composition to the board, saying, hey, do you have an answer to this? We can try and play this differently than you're used to. I think it's a good shout. They're taking some notes from other regions. They're mixing it up a little bit here in China, and I think that probably went better than it would have otherwise.
I think the harsh reality for Ultra Prime Academy, right, though, is how punishing it is when you invest utilities from this composition too early, and how easy it is for this Hammond 800 to get in with the support of Liga's bubbles and immediately just bully Chiron. And you either go down with Immortality Field still in your pocket, which means your tanks are going to be joining you in the spawn ship, or you invest the utility, it's pulled away from you, and an ultimate comes through. Make sure that the same outcome happens just only a couple of seconds later.
Yeah, and I thought that was actually something that I noticed time after time again, was the supports going down early for Ultra Prime, which are, again, the backbone of this composition. They allow you to poke, they allow you to stay alive, they allow you to sustain behind that big Orisa shield, and it was constantly the BAP and the Brig going down at the start of those fights. And to answer that, I'm kind of looking towards the off-tank here for Ultra Prime. I thought Kaylee was doing an excellent job of kind of sourcing down the DPS and trying to find one or two of them, but they were, I think, leaving the team a little bit too often, right? Trying to chase down DPS as opposed to staying with the team and simply peeling away the DPS that come to them. And so that left a few openings for BLG to take advantage of, and they did so beautifully.
Yeah, and I think another thing, right, is that Kaylee was running a lot of the time on that Diva. And you look at Liga, who is just running around, has all of the charge in the world off the back of 800's dives. The second that Zarya sees that Diva, the mech is just absolutely melted. And I think the best way that we got to see that, right, was the last one in Ruins, where they completely split the entire team. Liga actually loops around the back of the inner building to find the mech as the rest of the team just move into the supports who are left completely unguarded. They're doing such a good job of rerouting these two halves of the team, making sure that they don't get to fight together. And you say, look towards the off tank. I say, hey, so everyone's looking pretty good with that turret right now. Because, you want to talk about the DPS, you want to talk about that hit scan fall off. Tourbillon turrets are still deterring tracers and still being an absolute pain for Forest to deal with. It works the same for Dive.
And it's not a bad rap to run it. It's going to be Havana, where we're going to here for map number 2. It's going to be Up Academy trying to pull things back into their favor. Do we get a comp swap? I'm honestly not 100% sure. I think they want to stay on the Orisa at the very least. I'm curious to see what we get with it. It is actually... No, wait, total. Wait, I got a little confused which team was on which side. They've kind of played ring around the rosy with one another. It's 800 in Liga on Orisa Diva, and Up look towards Ball Diva.
Billy running the Orisa, but running it alongside the Brig and Zen. And yes, you've got Liga on the Diva, so you have the defense matrix coming through, which would soften a lot of damage coming onto this team, but you have to be able to land the shots. The second that your DPS are not making space and Ultra Prime Academy's backline, your tanks, the second that they get threatened by any little bit of damage, are going to get absolutely shredded.
Yeah, I love the confidence from Billy though, right? It is high risk, high reward, like you mentioned. If the tanks do go under pressure, it's going to be tough for them to get out of that sticky situation, but they're saying, we've got what it takes. We can sustain, and we're going to kill you before you ever get the opportunity to close that distance on us and utilize that Discord Orb to the best of their ability. For the time being, though, it's all about whether or not Seawave can find a shot in this corner. Gets near, finds one onto the Orisa, but it'll be healed up nice and easy by the rest of the team.
Talk about distance. Billy not actually going to go for the super aggressive hold that we see teams sometimes do on their defenses, and that's denying Seawave a lot of impact. The Widow not finding anything right now as Ultra Prime Academy are looking for the best time to start this dive coming through, but 800 with these holds have been so good at sticking Mike Haley in place that the Diva cannot actually dive with the Hammond, and they're having to rotate around the side.
Yeah, finding a dive is tough. Finding a shot's just as much so. With the position that Liga's taken up on the cart, they actually have full knowledge of where this Widowmaker is. Alfie is just in the backline, just doing whatever Alfie wants. Kind of escorted by Liga there, is able to get the better of the Tracer 1v1. Smiley running out of blinks, and this is the cue for Billy to push forward. They know they've got the damage to do it. They want to double dip on their chip, and they'll absolutely get away with it.
And this is the problem that Ultra Prime Academy is facing. They can do the damage, they can melt this tank lineup, but the tank lineup is playing so close to the supports that you can't really split them in half. And when you're running Widow and Tracer, the Widow's got to get through the Orisa shield, and the Tracer has got to get through the bodyguard. That is Alpha Yi, and it's not really working out for them, as Pineapple with this Dragon Strike can really just hold this team hostage. The second that the dive comes through, that support lineup, especially Chiron on this very immobile Zen, is going to be absolutely vulnerable.
Oh, speaking of the dive, big eat from Mike Kaylee. You like to see it. And that Dragon Strike you're talking about has now been nullified. They've pushed far enough that actually, I believe, we'll be able to see a decent angle by C-Wave out on the side. Liga immediately dives it. Engage with the Transcendence. It's big for Irony. And they managed to keep a whole host of ultimates to back it up as well.
Oh, Amplification Matrix was invested from Ultra Prime 2. And Billy simply took a step in front of it. Oh, Alfie, what are you doing? This is cruel. This is mean. He's waiting for Chiron.
Oh, no. Oh, Chiron. Careful. Oh, he's been spotted out. Okay. He was on the blink. That was way too close. And they should get out pretty scot-free here. 800 eats the headshot, but just a delicious little lunch for the time being. Now back around the corner. It's Liga's turn to dive. And they get C-Wave. You took out the Tracer, and now there's a D.Va in your backline. Up Academy really just can't catch a break right now.
Oh, the hope into the Hanzo shot. That is absolutely filthy. Billy are just using all of these sightlines that are open to them on this defense. But finally, 800 is down. If there is any time for Ultra Prime Academy to be able to move forward, it's now.
And they're doing so. The cards making some progress. A minute on the clock isn't even, like, in the grand scheme of on pushes that bad.
Yeah, especially now that you've got this D.Va bomb charged up, you can wait until 800 has dropped that Orisa shield. It's not like a Reinhardt shield where you just get to hold it up wherever you feel like it. It can be extremely easy to curve one of these bombs around into the full force of Billy when they come to contest.
It's so much harder for Billy to actually make those shields count. Like you mentioned, the bomb's going to come out immediately after the shield. They have to back away, do so safely. Alfie is stuck in the middle of 6 people. How are you alive? How do you live through that? That's ridiculous. I don't care if you're playing Tracer or what. They move in on this Amplification Matrix, though, and Highway Robbery be damned. They're getting into this fight. Alfie finally gets their revenge on his DXZ with a pulse bomb. It's looking like a clean re-engage for Billy off the back of the Ant Matrix.
That is one of the filthiest brig denials of an Amplification Matrix I have ever seen. How did you see as the Bat Ultimate comes out and shield bashes through it? And then Irony comes in with the Transcendence and nullifies all of the damage. Ultra Prime Academy have half a second to touch the card. And Ion just is not fast enough. You can see the Hammond going down. 2 assists for Liga's kill. They were not letting that overtime wick start to burn down for any second.
No, and you've got to appreciate how Billy took that engagement, because by all means, it was disadvantageous for them. They were pushing with an Orisa composition onto the cart, but they took every bit of space they could. And the second that Pineapple makes their way into the back line, that Tracer all of a sudden becomes so much more of a problem. And when I was mentioning, right, how are you getting out alive? Even if you don't get out alive, you force the team back into this corner, and you've bought space for BLG, which in itself was a ton of value.
I mean, the big difference as well, right, was that by playing so closely together, almost like a hedgehog composition, Up Academy couldn't really pick anyone who was weak and focus them down. You couldn't go for the Orisa. The D.Va was always there with Defense Matrix. You couldn't go for the supports. They were always safe blanketed behind that Orisa shield, as we're going to see another composition change coming at Ultra Prime Academy. This is something we see a lot more often on Havana defense. They're going to go for the full spawn hold. They know it's their best bet coming out on top of this map. If they can keep Billy stuffed up in their spawn by using Smiley to keep Ion alive with these Maywalls, routing out the damage, setting C-Wave up on this Kree with the flashbang to deal with Alpha, they're going to be able to see themselves through this map.
I mean, it feels like the only way that they do, but you've got to play musical composition. It's so difficult. It becomes so hard to really become a master of any of them, right? They're trying to be this jack of all trades, but none of them have worked yet. Now Alfie on afar looks to poke away at this team. Appropriately, Charon is actually the one countering this Pharah. Baptiste did not get hit with the hit scan fall-off nerf, and C-Wave will take credit for the kill, but you have to give some real props to Baptiste for squaring up against it. And no space has been made quite yet for Billy as they start to push out here, looking for a dive 800. Can't find a target. Bubbles down as well. It's going to be another 5 seconds off the DLG timer.
Yeah, remember, Billy, by running this far, they don't actually have a counter made to go for these counter walls. And everyone on Ultra Prime Academy, the BAP, the D.Va, are all making sure that Alfie just does not get free reign that Afara can have in Disguise of Havana. You keep them stuffed up right above their spawn point, and it becomes easy pickings, but Pineapple can still be an absolute menace with these Hanzo arrows. All it takes is one to hit a headshot, and your squishies are gone.
Yeah, Charon's wisely popping an Immortality field, but It's just too much. Alpha Yi finally breaks free from Spawn. And the second that Pharah gets over top of your team, it's all over but the fat lady singing. But with the tank going down last, Ion's going to be the happy man coming out of Spawn finally. Oh, well, I got some maze left on the card, but the card's going to progress forward regardless.
Yeah, and this is the danger for Ultra Prime Academy, right? Alpha Yi is now going to have movement. You're not just shooting a Pharah who's statically floating above their spawn point. You're shooting a Pharah who has all of the sightlines to bully you out before the fight even begins and hide away from Seawave's Deadeye.
And hide they will. I think Alpha Yi knows exactly what's up. This is smart play. It's hard to track Deadeyes a lot of the times, but they know after all that time, it has to be coming online. Getting away from this blizzard shouldn't be too difficult considering the mobility that their composition has. It's just a matter of getting that cart to the finish line, because that's the one spot where they need to be on top of it, and the blizzard's going to allow them to control that space. Seawave throwing in a Deadeye. I love to see the body blocked by Kalias. Smart stuff to make sure the Hanzo doesn't get away with too much more. Resurrect even fight back up, is looking for a counter engage. Billy can't find much. The Dragon, though, is going to get them at least a good bit of space and start to split up this Ultra Academy, which was exactly what their weakness was on the map before. They try to regroup with the Blizzard, but it just puts them right into the sight lines of Alpha Yi.
Yeah, everyone caught up in the Graviton. No one was able to deal with the Pharah, who is 60% of the way to a next barrage, but Ultra Prime Academy might not even be able to contest this payload as it is about to hit that finish line, and there is no one from the defense but Bailey trying to keep the point alive. 10% to bomb is gonna go down and start the staggers.
All in to contest. I mean, it's just staggers. That's all it is. It feels like one last good push here on Havana for Ultra Prime. Maybe Seawave can get into the back line. No. Unable to find any of the supports for Billy, and they'll close out a clean full hold here in map number 2 to take the series up to a nice little 2-0 scoreline.
Yeah, but Ultra Prime Academy, they have impressed, right? Similar to what we saw on Ilios. We saw that they knew what they were doing on Havana defense. They recognized that they had gotten full held, and so what they had to do was full hold on spawn. Keep the time burned off, make sure that Billy's DPS didn't get the movement, the freedom to just reign supreme on that Pharah with the sightlines that are an absolute menace on Havana. And unfortunately, they just weren't able to keep the spawn point for as long as they tried.
I mean, holding spawn there for 4 minutes, it's a tall ask for any team. But for Ultra Prime, it's exactly like you mentioned. They're playing really smart Overwatch, right? They understood they've got to hold the spawn. They understood trying to take on BLG in a mirror matchup is honestly just really, really difficult. Trying to force other compositions, but in all that, while they've got all the right ideas, the execution, I feel like, is really what's selling them a little bit short here.
Yeah, I want to see something where they peel a little bit more, because it does feel at the moment like we're seeing two halves of a team, and both of them, they're all faced with the same problem, and they're all looking for separate solutions, and that in itself is a problem, right? You look at when they were caught up in the Graviton, they all try and deal with the Graviton, and Alpha Yi is just minding their own business a couple of meters away, peppering damage in and coming up massively in the kills.
And you know what? For every little small thing we can peck at and try and figure out what's going on here for Up Academy, let's give BLG a pat on the back. Legal looks ridiculous. 800 is playing Orisa like it's nothing. The Wrecking Ball looks great. This is BLG in form like we expect to see them when they're 21-0 on maps this season.
Yeah, you want to talk about smart Overwatch being played. These guys are knocking it out of the park. Normally, Abletel amplification matrix is something that you hide around the corner in absolute fear of waiting for it to run out. But these guys, we talked about it, they're an aggressive team. They've got the confidence of 21 maps in a row, 23 now. They can have all of the aggression that they want. If they want to move past an amplification matrix, they're going to have the guts to move past an amplification matrix. And Iron J on this break has honestly been my standout player so far. Just using the shield bashes, making sure that no matter what composition gets run against them, you always have that peel so that the tanks can look after each other and the supports can rely on the shield bash and CC to keep everyone else in their place.
Yeah, they're playing good. They're playing smart. Ultra Prime's playing smart as well. Can they find the gusto to back it up? Ladies and gentlemen, map number 3 is coming at you just after this quick break. Welcome back, everybody. After the break, it's Billy up 2-0 up against Up Academy. It's been a long series for him, but Billy, my God, what a team they've put together.
We were worried looking, at the hero bands coming for thinking, oh, they're not going to have access to Echo. They're not going to have Alfie's Echo. They're not going to have Ash. Maybe.
I don't think they've blinked an eye.
They're going to look a little bit more uncomfortable than we've seen them. But no, they have taken to this hero bands like a duck to water. Alfie's Pharah is just as strong and terrifying as his Echo. And we're seeing what happens when you're currently in the middle of playing on a hit scan nerf. It's extremely hard to get on top of this guy.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like we've talked about every single player on BLG. You mentioned Hyunjae being an excellent center for this team and deciding when they should push forward and hold back and really calling those engagements for them. But it's really hard to pick out any one of them as being the carry right now because they're all playing out of their minds. I think Liga did an excellent job providing a ton of flexibility to this team while they're in, but they've been subbed out for Kodomo.
Yeah, Kodomo going to be coming out as we move over to Hanamura, and no surprises, Up Academy are going to have to run up against the gauntlet that Alfie threw down on Havana once more. And now it's going to be even harder to move across this courtyard because you're going to be facing that crossfire with Pineapple set up in the high ground. The one thing that you can do, call it cheese, call it a little bit of mozzarella grated over the top, is ignore the courtyard entirely. I wouldn't be surprised if Up Academy see what they're running up against and decide to grab a sim teleporter to make themselves get a little bit of a safer way onto that point.
It would be smart, and if there's one thing we've characterized Up as, it's smart right about now. Looks like they're going for this engagement regardless. So C-Wave, wow, how did you get in? That is, they watched them translocator up there, but still managed to get away with it. Implicator in the back. Upper setup, they're committed. There's not going to be a sim swap. It's all about the dive now, and it starts right here. Ion's going for a jump in. Kaylee immediately burned out of the mech. Alfie has not been contested in his high ground quite yet. Great job turning around by Kodomo, being aware, stopping the Pharah from going down. Billy looking strong as ever on this first point hold.
Yeah, Billy, you can tell that Up Academy, this dive is not focused on the Pharah, it's focused on Hyunjae. So that if Alfie goes down, the resurrection is not going to be there to immediately get them back into the picture. But Hyunjae is guarded by irony. This Ana is not letting that Mercy go down. If they have anything to say, it is Alfie is going to be taking a little bit more extra poke damage coming. Very Smiley not able to escape with a health pack. They're going to get their full health back, but it's not going to be the traditional way that they wanted.
And you know what hurts is Up have like 3 different win conditions to try and get through point A. They've got EMP, Nano Blade, maybe Nano Monkey, and of all of that, only one of them is up. It's just Nano Monkey. That is such a tough push to make when you don't have the answers. And they throw the... What? It's being used on the... Oh, Smiley's nowhere. That Nano Boost is just gonna fade. I don't think he did a singular bit of damage. I'm not sure where the call came from. I don't think it's necessarily Smiley's fault. Wasn't expecting to get Nano there, but does find a dive eventually. Pineapple being saved by Kodomo again. Excellent play on the Diva. Much more defensive than Liga, but doing an incredible job of holding these positions for BLG.
Oh, and you don't even need to use the barrage. Kodomo was actually going with the Pharah in the off chance that Alfie felt like they needed to invest that ultimate, but they'd already won the fight, and now they can stagger right the baby Diva. They've even slapped her, so you're not going to get worried about that remake kill coming through. And Up Academy, yes, Chiron did use that nano boost in the last fight. They've taken so much damage from this team, though, by running Ion on this Winston that you were already halfway to the next one. The problem is, you're not going to be able to use it on your Genji very well. Billy is still extremely mobile.
Yeah, the ultimate timing is just off in a lot of places here. Pushing for an engagement, though, off the rally, hoping they can get the ultimates up in time, but it's Karen going down in the meantime. Nam boosted by the Mercy. Hyunjae leaving the far aside for just a moment. That's plenty of time for this soldier to get the damage through.
And now they go Sombra hunting. They're able to catch Smiley out. That's another stagger kill. More time burnt off the clock, and Alfie can make sure that this team just don't get to actually order themselves, take advantage of C-Wave, who's holding on to the CMP, but who do you hit? You can see they're lining up. They want to grab this pharmacy. They know it's the real problem for Up Academy to move through, and if you can catch the timing, EMP followed up by Nanoblade, that's one way Up Academy can move through.
This is the one real shot. Up have it, getting this push in. All the ultimates have been used. Bomb out of Kodomo to buy space for them. It's working. it's worked entirely. It could almost through a singular bomb of 800 backed up, and all the ultimates were nullified. Finally, Smiley comes in with the Nano Blade. How many can you get here? You need to be able to close out the fight. Gets one on a Hyunjae. Can't find a second, but it might have just been enough to get up over this first point finish line.
Alfie's still alive though, and Irony can keep themselves hold up on that high ground. 800 can pick yourself a corner and hold it. And Smiley's forced to come back on the Tracer. They've got no one. Now a Soldier who's going to deal with this fire because they still haven't been able to pick up this point.
You have to think they're going to get it eventually here. The only tool that they really have to re-engage with is the barrage from Gara, and that's no longer a problem. Nanovirus, no shot that gets used anytime soon. Billy swapping off to the second point. Put 800 on a ball, though, notably, so they'll be playing a little bit of a different comp here on B.
Well, the one difference that Billy are going to be faced now immediately is that Alfie is really forced to play around the ceiling. And that can be a lot more of a counter to a Farah than any hit scan on this current patch. You've still got barrage, though. You're still looking for some value from that ultimate, something to stop Up Academy from getting C-Wave's EMP up online to be able to smoke.
Alfie, you caught one whiff of that, of the Winston, and just said, all right, we're barraging. Now in the back, like, oh, what a sick angle. How do you deal with this? This is gross. You want to push in, but there's just not a clear way. Kaylee, the second they leave the team, is going to get a bit of a problem area. They go for the engagement, do catch out Pineapple for it. Nano Boost going down onto Ion now. They want to find support. I don't think they know quite where the positioning is for them to play all the way back and spawn now. Irony can't be done. Decides to go for the high ground, but the Nano Boost has worn out as Billy waits to regroup in the back now.
Yeah, but you have been able to secure yourself the high ground. Pineapple sees that the Winston's deserted the ledge and takes the opportunity for attack Sizer.
I mean, we're just trading out on the high ground. It's yours, it's ours now. Billy sneaks up there. Pineapple, though, excellent heads-up play. And this is what we expect from somebody who's, I mean, practically as owl-bound as Pineapple is. Having that brain to just head right up there, follow up your Zarya, gets advantage. What a beautiful positioning play.
Oh, and stagger onto the baby diva again with the sleep to deny the remake kill potential. Pineapple's actually in the confusion. And a Sombra. So Chiron is now going to be forced to play a little bit closer to ZXZ, and that means you're not going to be able to build up to this Nano Boost as easily as you want to as Alfie. What are you doing?
I don't think it matters what Alfie does. I mean, it's only an Ana shooting at you, and you've got a Mercy in your back pocket. You do whatever the heck you want.
Oh wait, are they keeping Mike Haley hacked so you don't have defense matrix to deal with this barrage? That is cruel.
Still around the back line, Alfie. Wait a minute. This could be dangerous if you're not careful. Haley's only got so much barrage. Oh no. Oh, the hack's in. There's the barrage. Alfie follows up beautifully, and you called it perfectly. Mock C-Wave just harassing the ever-loving heck out of Mike Haley, and there was nothing you could do about it.
Up Academy playing so closely together with just the perfect pick for Alfie. Pineapple doesn't even need an EMP to win these fights. You hack that diva and all of the peel that is there for the Ana is gone. And Up Academy, they may have ultimates available, but they've got 24 seconds left, and Billy are not going to let them get a fair fight on this point to see them used.
They're trying to make them use this Nano Blade outside of the point so that they need another engagement, because it's not clear where that comes from right now. Throwing the mines in, timer's a real problem. 9 seconds on the clock. Where's the touch here? Where's the touch for Up? Pushing around the side. Is somebody on the left here? Players are falling one by one. They're staying in the mini room. Primal Rage can't get the point. Overtime's ticked by somebody. Oh, it had to be C-Wave.
I think it was Smiley. C-Wave was actually down for the count, and now it's up to Ion. Primal Rage has run out, though. And he just sits in
wants
the
nothing
bubble.
to do with that.
Pineapple just waves goodbye as Up Academy see that point be completely slip through their fingers.
And I love getting this clinic out of Billy. I mean, 800 we know has a solid Orisa, but watching them jump from composition to composition, how they have when we just, I mean, I think Billy could be 23-0 map-wise, just running like Ball Zarya or Ball Diva. They could just run one composition, but they're running two at an extremely high proficiency level. It's really, really impressive to see.
What's even more impressive is that they made Farah work on point B of Hanamura! How?
Well, no, I'll tell you how. The trick was they didn't play on point B of Hanamura. They played everywhere but point B of Hanamura.
Yeah, ceilings are so lost century. Just have the Farah play eternally outside of the point. Never mind, it's one of the biggest tilting factors that I've ever seen on teams that I have to deal with when we defend this point door. But Billy, by playing into Alpha E's wheelhouse on this Pharah with that mobility and just hacking away at Up Academy, this poor team that never really got to see that point after that first initial push towards it. They were just able to burn off that time bank so adeptly, but now the shoe is on the other foot. Up Academy are the ones who get immediate access to the high ground, who can hide Chiron on this and make it a little bit harder for Billy to find where the support is playing from.
The coordination they've got, though, I mean, it's Billy. You've got to imagine they can find a way in here. That makes it over just barely. Oh, no. You can tell Chiron's going to be in their sights in a bit, but with Alpha E gone, forces a res out at the very least for Billy. Starting up towards his ultimates. They need an angle up over the top here before they can really make this push happen, but everything is set up. Sombra's in the back line, Pharah's over top. They've got all the space they wanted. Oh, now Alpha E becomes a real problem. Can't go down. C-Wave's the first, in fact, and now you've got these roofs to play with. You don't have to worry about sight lines. Up Academy, though, smartly going for a counter engage of their own. Try for the dive. Can they get the Ana? No! Irony! They go all the way to the spawn for it. But in the meantime, the point's being taken. Now it's Up again, reliving what they just went through, having to attack on point A. And can they even touch? No! That's tragic!
800 with the boop, followed up by the hack, so the Diva's boost can't touch the point in time, and this is scrappy!
This poor team.
Up Academy, they're coming out, they're getting kills, they're building up ultimate charges. They will have an EMP for when Billy touched that point, because remember, the difference now is Billy do have to touch this point. They will have to fight that, but Up Academy, that means that they get a chance. The CMP can be huge. They just have to win the fight before Billy hit ultimates of their own.
Spawn timers, they reset when the point is taken, not when it's already been taken. Up Academy, they're fortunate, I'll say, to even get to look at this high ground, to blink at it. Great dive into the backline as well. Should be an Ana going down. Irony drops low. And be careful they don't overextend again, because they are losing points in the meantime, and it's only one tick to give this thing away. EMP being committed as well by Up, going for it for C-Wave. Resurrect is on for Irony, and all of a sudden this push has new legs for Billy.
Yeah, the Hammond Mine just completely stopping Up Academy's movement on this point. Alti just survives the bomb blast with the concussive. And Up Academy can't contest. There's nowhere for them to move. There's a boatload of damage coming through. And Billy walk away with a clean free NO, setting themselves up to be just as strong in this broadcasted season as we saw in the regular season 2.
And to add insult to injury, there's a really nice small play there. For Billy, the Ana nanoing the Pharah. The concussive would not have been enough to save you from the bomb. But throwing the nano on, keeping the Pharah alive, I don't know. Alpha E went down like twice and just got rezzed both times, and then just proceeds to concussive blast into your backline like it doesn't matter. The cojones on this man are just too much to be bared. It doesn't matter. He's got so much confidence in Hyunjae to keep them alive that they feel like they can just go wherever they want.
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough one. And you want to talk about teams knowing what they're supposed to do. Up Academy, you could see they knew. Hit the supports. Try and win that backline fight so the front line has nothing left to stand. But the front line just was not missing. If you didn't take them out in the first couple of seconds, they were taking you to town. And Billy are an absolute formidable force right now. Alpha E, his Pharah, that's something that you are going to have nightmares just thinking about if you're a support main.
Yeah, and we talked about it, right? Heading into this season, every team's got to find either a Pharah or a Pharah counter if they want to play in this meta. And I think we found our Pharah, or at least the very first of the 4 teams we're going to get to see tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, there's another match. It is Team Chaser versus T1W, practically El Clasico here in China. We've got a little bit more coming up in just a second. Let's take a look at who we've got for player.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, is there any surprise that it's going to be the one, the only Alpha Yi? This guy, his name was on our lips so often in Season 1 with his Echo, and he is just as formidable on that Pharah. And if you are going up against Billy, I pray that you got your Torbjorn strategies in order, because that turret might be the only thing that gives this guy pulse.
Hey, you've got to find an answer. I'm glad I don't have to deal with this Pharah, At the very least, I can watch other teams deal with it. Hats off to Up, though. I got to give them some credit. They were playing smart Overwatch. At the end, when they were trying for those counter engagements, it was a good idea. Execution, again, just a little bit off. And again, this team has a lot of potential. They've only been playing together for a little bit. So if that coordination goes up another level, all of a sudden, you start thinking, hey, if they're playing smart, if they're playing the right way, that execution and the individual ability comes up just a touch. They start contesting teams like T1W and Chaser, maybe taking some maps off and making sure that stratification that we're seeing isn't quite as strong as it is.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely agree. Time is really going to be something that builds into this team's strength. And that means that as the season continues, we can see them get a lot stronger because it is all about that synergy. You have to be able to peel for your backline. And that was something that we saw. When given the opportunity, that front line would push for kills, go for aggression, rather than trying to keep their backline up. And if you're able to get a hold and figure out when it's okay to go aggressively off the leash, or you need to pull a little bit further back and let your Ana survive, that is really going to set this team to be quite strong and a very formidable foe as the week progress.
Well, you know what? They've got more matches in the future to try and improve themselves. They get knocked down to the losers bracket. It's Billy moving on in the winners. We're going to check out our other match for today, though. It's going to be T1W versus Chaser. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. Keep your butts in your seats and your eyes glued firmly to your screens because we're going to be right back with more Contenders action. And somebody give a drum roll because it's time to welcome the champions of Chinese Contenders Season 1 2021. It's time for Team Chaser to enter the building. That's right. We've got him in up against T1W for their first match of playoffs. I am Dor. I'm still joined by the always lovely Moxie to open up game number 2 for tonight.
After that, I feel like I should have trumpets. Betty.
I've got a kazoo, but I can't play it for myself. Yeah.
I could have baked a cake, and then we could have eaten the cake afterwards. Or better yet, I could have eaten the cake and sent photos. But no, our second matchup of the day is going to be Team Chaser versus T1W, and this one is looking just a little bit closer on paper than our last series, right? We don't really know whether it's going to be 3-0, whether it's going to be 3-2, whether Team Chaser and T1W are going to go all the way like we always got to saw last time they matched up in the season. I've got my fingers crossed that it's going to be a long one. I know the longer the Overwatch goes on, the closer it is, and the more fun it is to watch.
I mean, let's put it this way. If you look at our Preds, it screams that Chaser's going to 3-0. And they did 3-0 during the regular season.
What do you mean if you look at the Preds? I'll have you know it's a 50-50
okay, 3-0
tie.
3-1, but still, nobody's predicting 3-2, which is, it makes sense for how it's been going so far. But knowing Chinese Contenders, the second everything calms down, the second that it looks like there's some degree of consistency, somebody upsets. And it could be T1W. We know this team plays smart. This is one of the most coordinated teams that we have in Chinese Contenders, if not the most coordinated team with how well they play. The coaching staff did an incredible job during the last season, and I hope they can keep it up here because there haven't been that many roster changes.
Yeah, and that means that they're going to be carrying through a whole boatload of synergy as we get to see the roster come up. Now, these guys have stayed pretty much the same. They brought in Dodori and Rebirth, but other than that, everyone is still pretty much the same from Season 1. And I'm really looking forward to getting to see how they work well together, because one thing that we've already witnessed today is if you synergize with your team, you can play some really fun and quite cheesy but successful Overwatch.
Yeah, and I see some little bits of stuff that I really like here. I mean, first off, Night God is someone who we're looking at who could potentially play that Pharah to a really, really high level. Bins and Hetlot have all the tanks down that you need to play in this current meta. Bins, I believe, has a decent Orisa should they want to bring it out, as well as a hell of a nice haircut. I gotta shout it out. This man is looking too fine right now. That is too awesome. Let's see, though, on the other side, what we've got going up against them is Team Chaser's roster, featuring a little shout out to the foregone FFF, you know, moment of silence for them, but Riven is going to represent well he can.
I mean, it's like they've never left. Unfortunately, FFF will not be joining us in these playoffs. They did go out, and now we will be getting to see Riven joining Team Chaser, Kaneki, Aprita, Riven, X-Ray, Langsa, and Kyo. That is chills.
That's a gross lineup.
Just saying it. And you want to talk about potential Pharah players? Well, look no further than Kaneki. I tell you, if we get to see a dogfight between Night God and Kaneki, then you know that's going to be a treat.
You know, we could talk about Pharahs all we want. I feel like we are remiss to not mention the Aprita-shaped elephant in the room right now. Tracer is not banned. There are a lot of tools for you to get in. I can't wait to see what this team does. There is so much individual ability on this team right now. They bring in some new blood. You know, we talked about them last season as being the old guard and really having a lot of those old school Chinese Contenders players. They bring in some new players to kind of give some new life, give some new aggression, give them some new playstyle to really back up Aprita. And if you're talking about teams that made the right moves in the offseason, it feels like this team is right up there with them.
Yeah, honestly, the synergy with Kaneki and Aprita, I am absolutely terrified for T1W's backline, right?
Yeah,
if you want to run Night God on this far, you want to have that Mercy alongside, and that means that whoever is the second support is potentially going to have to deal with Aprita's Tracer solo. And that is going to be a lot of stress for one person to deal with, especially if Aprita decides to run Sombra and comes out invisible.
I mean, we could see all sorts of things locked in. We'll have to wait till the Sombras really get out to see what these compositions end up being. But they're going to be very different is what we can confirm.
Oh, T1W. Now going to be going for the Sombra, trying to make a little bit of noise in the back lineup, but that is going to have to do a whole bunch of distraction. Kaneki is just going to be so well contested on this Pharah, looking for the supports, and you're running Zenbring. That shield is not going to CC those rockets.
Yeah, these picks are very likely to come out one at a time. It's kind of the problem, right? Chaser has so much poke. T1W is like in the back line half the time, and now they can't really get away with the rockets, given that they're in this back room. There's no way to LOS. Kaneki's already on top of the McCree, right? The second the Pharah is over top of the McCree, there's not much else you can do with the Fritta coming in from the other side. It's like being stuck between a rock and a hard place.
And you can even stagger out all of his kills. Make sure that your point percentage just keeps ticking up. The one thing that we do have to draw attention to, despite being shoved into a corner unceremoniously, T1W's DPS have done a beautiful job of building up health charges to the point that they're actually ahead of Team Chasers.
And yeah, that EMP is going to be super valuable. If they can get that up before 40%, that is a milestone victory for them. Now trying to make the push back in, though. Wallaprit is down to Fritta. Uh-oh. Fritta means business. The Tracer's in. T1W are, though, a little bit earlier. Kyo trades off on a Night God. No longer is that EMP a problem. We're back in the same room that we were. Team 1W is having a lot of flashbacks to places they didn't want to be. X-Ray going down, though, gives them a little bit of breathing room to start things out.
Kaneki, how?
I don't know, man.
How did those mines not clip that bird's wings? The concussive mobility is absolutely beautiful. And now T1W, that's stuck in this room. They don't want to come out. The second that they do, the barrage is going to be coming through.
And I love that Barrage is actually thrown in behind them so that the AoE is catching them offline. The Bins and Rebirth are able to turn around and capitalize on the back of a Transcendence. Team Chaser finally forced off, but I think 60% rather is a bit later than T1W would have liked to.
Yeah, and it was with the EMP as well. They had to use it to stop the barrage from coming through because they were bouncing the rockets off of the walls with the AoE to stop Bins from being able to gobble most of them up. And that means that Team Chaser holding onto these ultimates can come through, dangle mines all around point, not let T1W move, and there's no EMP to shut it down.
This fight is tough for T1W, but they've bought some extra time off the clock after picking off a Fritta. They've got the high ground. I think that's the one thing they really need to maintain here. If they can stop Kaneki from bullying them over top and stop them from closing the distance, the same way we saw Alpha E do. Never mind. Never mind, Fritta's in the game!
Yeah, you look at the Pharah, you don't look at the Tracer, and that is a recipe for disaster. And Team Chaser, this was the game plan, right? Kaneki is the distraction. Going in with bells and whistles, everyone turns around, looks in the sky, and that means that the Tracer gets free reign. All the resources that you're not putting to stop that backline flank, well, Fritta's gonna make them pay. T1W lose the point. They do have a rally to come through, but Rebirth is forced to go onto this Ana, so you have a little bit more CC, a little bit more counter, instead of drawing resources all the way from your team, which does mean that Bins can be a little bit closer to Headlock, doesn't have to worry about support line up as much.
Game plan sounds a lot like have a Fritta on your team, and that it is for him right now. Team Chaser backing out. I think the sleep just barely connects. Kaneki now over top of this team. Does have a concussive blast should they need to retreat back onto point, and they will do exactly that. Now looking for re-engage with mine. Barrage is out. Oh no, the defense range was gone for just a second. That's enough for Kaneki to get the pick onto Akide, which opens up the door. The Pharah no longer has a counter, is able to get more value off the back that eventually goes down, but the job's been done.
Yeah, and you've got Riven who can come in with this Fever Bomb. Actually gets hacked before you can pop the ultimate, and Team Chaser don't really want to contest this, like say that, but the self-destructor is that X-ray back on their ham and just gonna keep looping around this point. Eternal stagger. T1W not able to have the hit scan there. Kaneki gone though. Does mean that there's a little bit more space for this team to run rampant.
Yeah, with Team Chaser not really having DPS outside of a Fritta right now, it's really hard to find a proper re-engage off point, forcing them back though. Eventually the OT timer just gets a little too thin. And T1W, despite some good early starts there in the second fight and a little bit further on, eventually the DPS pressure, I mean, it's just too much. Kaneki, this lineup is just stacked to the brim.
Yeah, unfortunately, they'd lost too much percentage too early on into the map, right? By getting cramped up into that same room 3 times in a row. Team Chaser had been able to buy themselves 50% off that point so easily, but now we do move across map, and that means that Kaneki's going to be just a little bit more concerned with the ceilings. But we've already seen ceilings and fires don't necessarily mean not running it entirely. T1W actually going to be running Night God on the May does mean that you have a little bit more counter when Team Chaser comes calling if you don't feel like you're ready, like you're set up to be able to deal with this. Tough thing is, Pharah doesn't care about walls. Pharah flies above them.
Kaneki's back on it. It doesn't seem to matter. I for one, I've mentioned it before, I welcome our Pharah overlords. You know, I'm happy to watch it for a little bit here. Kaneki has been so good on it. Now we're playing a little bit of Ring Around the Rosie on the point, seeing which team wants to go where. T1W rotates around the right. Team Chaser taking the high ground. You have to feel like they got the better of the equation, though. This is exactly what they wanted, right? Control the high ground, get your Pharah into a good position, and just keep healing them up from there. But X-Ray goes down, making a little bit of an early push here.
Yeah, the second that T1W get righted back into that side room, they're not going to have access to the sightlines to be able to keep Kaneki in check. And that's exactly why they're refusing to step backwards and moving on to this point. And it means that Team Chaser don't get what they wanted. T1W are the ones who pick up the point first and get that percentage rolling up.
Yeah, you gotta give the hats off to the tanks and supports of T1W. It's not necessarily a mechanical task, but honestly, timing and feel for when to push out to get that point. They did it excellently, and now it's an EMP re-engage from Aprita. The follow-up, a little bit more questionable though. Akita's played a really nice flank route here on the side of the point, buying a lot of space for the team, but not enough to deny the barrage out of Kaneki. Gets over top. It was actually tracking how much defense matrix Bins had going into that fight. Waits for it all to go away. Pops and blows up the team.
And because Akita was going on that flank, trying to deal with what came after the EMP on the point, no one was there to shut the Pharah down when the barrage comes through. He does have a Deadeye. But the question is, are you going to actually be able to get in to use it? Remember, when McCree pops the ultimate, you become a lot more vulnerable. And Kaneki on this Pharah has been so good at hitting those two shots.
Things get tough over top. Kaneki comes nanoed on the Pharah. Forget the backline, forget the DPS. Shooting the tanks now and chunking them out with direct rocket after direct rocket. What accuracy out of this Pharah we're getting.
And Akita's still not able to get the space to use that Deadeye. I worry for T1W. What is their win condition, right? They come in with a blizzard, they throw it down, it doesn't get eaten by Riven, but who's it going to catch? Team Chaser are so mobile, they're so scattered all around the place that you're going to manage to pin down one, maybe two people at most.
Hitting them down is just step one. Actually finding those picks is another. Langso's got a Valk. It's going to keep a lot of people alive, but they've got all the ultimates they want to push into this point. It's T1W or bust right now. Throwing in the first of those ultimates. It's going to be a bomb. Headlock goes down first, and Kaneki's going to get away from the bomb clean. Langsa, a little bit less so, but trading out one for one. They're feeling fine. T1W holding on to three of those ultimates now. The Transcendence, but no kills come out of it. There goes the Deadeye from Akita, and all of a sudden Team Chaser has more ultimates. EMP barrage over top, and T1W waited a little bit too long to make that one count.
Oh, Transcendence came out and Aprita was just frothing at the mouth, waiting for it to run out. T1W needed the picks to come through to stop that ultimate from following up, and Team Chaser off the back of that EMP barrage combination will pick up this point. And this is the thing for T1W, they have to win this fight before X-Ray hits the mines, otherwise overtime is burnt out immediately.
Yeah, with the nano boost being there as well, I mean, the last thing you want is Kaneki on top of you again while nano boosted, but it's probably going to happen if we're being completely honest with ourselves. T1W have used the one ultimate they had to make space, and the second it goes away, Kaneki's in, nano boosted, and it's exactly like we foretold it, Moxie. Demolition Derby in the back line as T1W gets that pack in first map 2-0 in the books for Team Chaser.
Riven forced off the point, not even able to keep the contest going. And Team Chaser off the back of, again, we're going to say it so often on this patch, Pharah! She's back! She is as much a menace in Contenders China as she is in your console games, and looks like she's here to stay.
Yeah, I mean, she looks good, and then the second you look away, Aprita lands a two-man pulse bomb, which it feels so fitting that, like, you bring in these new players, you're like, okay, we're going to put a Pharah in, it's going to be so good, we're not just relying on Aprita anymore to get us these wins, and then, like, Aprita's like, no, I'm definitely still here, too. There's so many problems to deal with, but I'll be honest, for all of Team Chaser looking really, really impressive, I think T1W just lack a little bit of confidence. Right? T1W have got Night God, who we know could probably play a pretty solid Pharah here. We know they can play these compositions. It feels like if they had a little more confidence back them up, they had a little bit more pep in their step and felt like they could move forward more aggressively, I think they could deal with this composition, but instead of trying to, you know, play it, match it against Team Chaser, a team that we know T1W have played close time and time again, they're trying to counter it. They're allowing themselves to be put on the back foot. And I think that's what we need to see change. It's more of a mentality thing, it feels like, for T1W right now.
Especially because here's the most painful thing about Pharah paired up with Tracer. What you do to get around Pharah problems tends to play right into the Tracer's hand. And we got to see that firsthand, right, with double pulse bomb. In terms of University as well, when a Predator just comes in on that Sombra and playing it very much like the Tracer, the second that you really turn around to try and deal with that Pharah, everyone is looking at the Pharah. It's not just one person, it's not just two, it's not just a little bit of peel. No, they are turning as an entire team to deal with one problem, and then it's like playing whack-a-mole. Another one just pops up right in his place.
I mean, such is the name of the meta as it is, but we likely get to see some more compositions here. Let's take a look at map number 2. What pick do we get out of T1W? On the back foot again.
Oh, no.
Taking things to Rialto. Oh, I mean,
Oh no.
it's a Pharah playground, but to be fair, right, if we take a look at the map pool, there's not many things that you can't play Pharah on. It's Havana, Route 66, and Rialto. Of those, maybe Havana, right, you wouldn't do, but then Aprita just gets a Tracer playground, so it's kind of the lesser of two evils if we're being real with ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, I think I actually had this conversation with someone earlier this week. But we were talking, and I was insta-locking Pharah and DPS because that's what you do at the moment. And what map isn't playable for Pharah? That's the problem. And honestly, with the way that Team Chaser is playing this far, even maps that aren't potentially necessary 100% Pharah friendly because they're leaning so heavily into it with so many resources, they're still finding a lot of value. But we say that there's not a Pharah online at the moment. And so this is very much an anti-dive composition where you're going to have a Aprita move over to the McCree so that you can keep control of a lot of this high ground and make sure that X-Ray is just a little bit safer on the Arista. It's similar to what we saw in Billy and Havana, right? You put your eggs into the basket of DPS and you CC to make sure that T1W just don't get to contest and use that little bit of damage necessary to make your composition fall apart.
Yeah, and on a grander scale, I actually really appreciate this move from Team Chaser, right? As Owl heads into the offseason, right, teams are looking to pick up players. Aprita's been criticized time and time again for being a Tracer one-trick, but it's really not true. He's got some good hit scan in his back pocket. And Team Chaser being to put that McCree on display and allow Kaneki to flex over to the Tracer, I think just goes to show they've got some confidence in that. I love seeing Aprita be able to really flex that hero pool a little bit more as we round the corner. Setup for Team Chaser is going to become a little bit more prevalent, though. T1W lining up for not a dive, but high ground space taking with a Hanzo of their own to poke away at those shields. Team Chaser don't really have a clear answer, but that cart also isn't really moving forward that much.
Yeah, everyone's just really waiting either for a first pick to come through from these DPS or an ultimate to give them a little bit more confidence. Because remember, no matter what composition you run through, this first corner on Rialto is an absolute bother if you don't have the ultimates to brute force your way through, and there it is.
Yeah, I mean, the second one pick comes through, the whole house of cards is going to crumble for these teams, and you back away, try and stay alive, but Team Chaser looks just as confident as BLG did earlier, saying, you know what, it's either you go back to spawn or you die here. There is no in between, and Kaneki's proven exactly that.
Yeah, blood's in the water, and like sharks smelling said blood, Team Chaser is circling, and because T1W didn't really go back to spawn cleanly, they are currently at risk of being surpassed in ultimate charge by the defense as Nyko goes for a stick of their own, catches Langsar, and that is the best go-ahead for T1W to move through.
And that's the third or fourth time we've seen Akide throw that Sonic arrow, actually checking that wall, waiting for the perfect opportunity for a pulse bomb. But Team Chaser aren't done with the fight quite yet. They push in off the back of a beautiful Transcendence. X-Ray picking up too. And despite being put on the back foot, this is the confidence that we want out of these teams. The top three really putting up their duty, saying, you know what, you got that pick, but we know we're better in this fight. Step forward, find the frags, and let Team Chaser pop off.
T1W can capitalize on that moment, though. Kyo invested that Transcendence to keep Team Chaser's position, to be able to keep utilizing this corner, to keep T1W at arm's length. They still have a Dragon Strike, and Headlet on this Orisa with a well-timed halt can make the use of that Transcendence pay tenfold and finally let them cross this courtyard, because Aprita is just waiting with this Deadeye for that courtyard to finally be able to use that line of sight.
Yeah, I mean, almost the key word there being finally. A minute 24 on the clock, things are messy. Kaneki trades out 1-for-1 on the support, but more importantly, Rebirth had Trance. All they have is Dodori and this rally to get them into this fight. Aprita's on a flank. Aprita is on a flank. I don't know how he's going to reconnect with the team, but good luck at the very least. Off in Narnia, apparently, but I think actually will manage to just regroup with the rest. Oh, no. Finn takes him down. That's tragic Now point recontest for Team Chaser. They've got a rally to do it. They've got a lot of tools to make this happen, but T1W have a trance of their own to try and make this push. Do they have the confidence to push on the back? But they don't even need it. In fact, it's Night God finding a pulse bomb on X-Ray that'll end things here.
I really actually like the positioning coming out from Rebirth, right? So far out of the action, so if necessary, you did have Transcends to save your team, but it also meant that Team Chase, their entire focus is on that payload. No one turns to deal with this end. No one actually bullies him out of using this ultimate. So Team Chaser, they want to be on the high ground right now, but they're not going to be able to have the aggressive play to just be able to solo trans the only team with the ultimate and brute force T1W away from that hallowed ground.
I mean, this really is a battle of transcendences now, though. It's a big game of chicken for who gets a second. As we know, with every sport ultimate, second team to use it is far more likely to win this match. So while Cart rounds this corner, we're just a couple seconds away from this ultimate fight. Team Chaser don't actually have to engage here until that Cart reaches that point, though.
And Kanaki's just waiting. It's keeping that payload completely stuck as well. But this is when T1W starts to move forward. They've got to put it out of the way, and that means no flashbang, nothing to stop them from moving up ahead.
Bit of a misstep. It's Transcendence first forced out of Team Chaser. T1W using it years later, waiting forever, and then pushing off the back. But they left themselves a clean 5-second Transcendence difference there to close out the fight. Excellently done by Rebirth.
He who transes last, laughs last. And we get to see T1W, another Sonic going to be setting up a Dragon Strike to make sure that Team Chaser don't get a clean recontest on this payload.
That's gonna be anything but clean. You're exactly right. Dragon in to split them in half allows only the Orisa to get over top here. With Kyo going down, Team Chaser, like you mentioned, in a pretty bad spot to recontest this, but Knife's got doing some work in the backline. Akita's got the damage to back it up, though. T1W reached the point again without fully cleaning up the team here. Team Chaser can't quite find a point to stabilize.
I love the use of this Hanzo. Making sure that you can track where Team Chaser are coming from, and then Night God just goes in on that flank and catches Team Chaser in a pincer movement, so that they're forced to turn around and try and peel for the backline instead of helping the Orisa on that payload. The problem now is that Akita is not going to have that space to be able to set the Dragon Strikes up. You're going to have to get up close and personal to Team Chaser's spawn, and they're not going to allow that.
No chance. X-Ray immediately burns down Headlock with the help of a Bongo. I mean, that's a 1-ult fight. That's fantastic for Team Chaser, especially considering they were on the back foot and needed to stabilize.
Oh, but it is going to be a battle of the Diva Pumps now. Team Chaser, they use their bongos. T1W still have it up, but it is going to be about a game of chicken. Because the second that an Orisa shield goes down, that Diva Bomb is going to be coming through, cutting the team in half. The matter is, who's going to get the most value?
I mean, there's more than just bombs now. Dragon's being thrown in by a Pretty who says, anything you can do, I can do better. Locks it to Hanzo, and X-Ray does it again, taking down Headlock, burning them, but this time through their own bongo. The confidence again of Team Chaser. They don't care. Riven pushes in, eats your Dragon while he's at it. Bomb will equalize for 2, but this fight was over a while ago. T1W are really committing to, I mean, it's hard to trans, bombs, pulse, what haven't they used, and they're still losing it.
Unfortunately for them, those ultimates pretty much just went straight into the trash, right? Because Team Chaser, it was a scrappy fight, and that's always going to benefit whoever spawns the closest. Team Chaser, they're going to be there so much faster in T1W by staggering in. Yes, they finally got the payload moving through this choke, but they don't have a Transcendence. They're having to back out already.
Yeah, Team Chaser played a really smart metagame, and though there's a little bit of overextension there at the end by Team Chaser, they should, like you mentioned, be able to stabilize here. I want to see them make the push happen, though, with this trans. There's not a clear thing that they need to counter with it other than maybe getting the rally out alongside it, and they're happy to sit here and just poke at shields until one of them pulls.
Yeah, they're holding on to that Transcendence, waiting for that Dragon Strike to come through, but now they know they can press forward aggressively. They figured out where the Hanzo is playing, and yes, they lose one of their own, but they've still got the rally, they've still got the Transcendence. Team Chaser burning more time off the clock as T1W going to be back to the drawing board yet again.
They gotta hack their way through it. They'll throw in a pulse bomb, catch out Langston, but T1W are coming so often to these late fights, like you mentioned. Night God is making it work, though. A little bit confident on the Tracer. Be careful not to go down. He should be all right. This team's regrouped. They've got 4 of the 6 members, but they've also got 23 seconds on the clock here to make this work. Team Chaser's pushing in. They want Halt, Bongo, Dragon to be the thing that connects and finishes this off. Rebirth wants to build up that Transcendence before it all happens. There's a Dragon. There's the Halt. Everyone in this hallway is down. The Trance didn't get a chance to pop. And now 7 seconds on the clock. T1W, the rug's been pulled out from under him. Team Chaser excellently played last fight, recognizing their opportunity and stepping in to take it.
Oh, that is so painful. Don't look. If you have families, 99% to Transcendence door. I was watching that Dragon Strike. I was looking at that Zen's HP. I was backseat gaming. I was like, left, left, left. And he still got caught out by the tail end of it. And it really was just the tail end. But Team Chaser, they knew that Transcendence was about to come online. They waited till literally the last possible second that they could. And my goodness, whoever's ult tracking on that team, someone give them a hat or a round of applause. Because they have done an absolute stand-up job, and they are the reason that Team Chaser were able to keep that payload halted before the finish line.
Yeah, and there's a clear win condition now. Reach the end of the map for Team Chaser, and they're choosing what looks like an alternate route to do it, but T1W doing the same. Out comes Night God's Pharah to play. Everyone's got a pocket Pharah these days, Mox.
Oh, it's been so long since I got to see a Widow in Rialto. It feels like we're back to win this game first release, and I mean, I don't know how long Akita is going to be staying on this, right? Given the fact that Kaneki is currently teasing the Genji, and we've all been in the Widowmaker's shoes. 175 HP, Genji, not exactly your best friend, but you do have that to pull back onto. But now Kaneki opting into the Pharah duel. You don't have a Mercy though. Thanks to sticking on the Brigitte, so you're going for counter dive.
Oh, they're swapping everything. Everything. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, I guess. Ball in. Kaneki still deciding what to play. Locks in a Pharah, a Prita for a Hanzo. What's going on here, Mox?
They know that shields are going to be in the way. They know that Akira on that Widow has got to be contested. The Predator is going to be trying to keep that Widow distracted so that Kaneki can go for that shield break and keep Kyo just a little bit safer, because the second you don't put that threat onto that front line, Kyo is going to be so vulnerable as Akira is just waiting to line their shot.
I actually think the sideline that Akita's playing on might be a little too far. It might be outside of Widow fall-off range, and that's why Kaneki's so confident peeking into it right now. But Team Chaser are taking an alternate route for the time being, just looking for some poke, wrapping around the side again. The Widow is there to try and counter this, but the sidelines are so good, and everything set up just right behind these tanks. They're gonna go down eventually. It's a battle of attrition, and T1W can't seem to find an advantage in it. Night God's poking away like their life depends on it, but simply nobody's standing on the cart for Team Chaser. Everyone's somewhere else.
And Kaneki finally figured out, sniffed out the Widowmaker. Kitty is down, the rest of the team alongside them. No one turned around to deal with Kaneki because they were so focused on the fight that was going on around that corner. TPS took massive advantage. Akita's going to stay on the Widowmaker. You do have a little bit more of a safer line of sight in this last contest, but are they even going to be able to? As everyone is so distracted, trying to just get out of that spawn.
And this is T1W trying to opt for this early hold, and it's smart because they have the Widowmaker. They want to maintain these windows in the longer sight lanes, but they might not even get to do that.
They have to win this fight. They need to be able to use that Widowmaker to take advantage of the open line of sight of bridge, but a Predator being such a menace on this Hanzo is about to build up to that Dragon Strike, and that means that all of this hold that Team Chaser has built up is gone in seconds.
We're high ground now. Night God has next to no space to play with. I mean, you'd think it'd be more considering you're the one with the Widowmaker, but look at how far back Akita is. Akita can literally see through like a doorway and like a little bit of the bridge, and somehow still managed to pick off Kyo. What a monster on the sniper. Langso will res it back up, so the kill is null and void, but it's certainly nice for T1W, who are slowly bleeding out resources themselves.
Well, Night God holding onto this barrage, but you don't have the Orisa, you don't really have that bubble to be able to use it. They've given the Nano, they want to try and put this barrage in to find a foothold, but you're forced to use the concussive to get away.
That was such a good disengage by Team Chaser. They're recognizing that Nano means Barrage, and they want nothing to do with that.
Well, it's gonna be smart, but it does mean that you do have to see this barrage, but Kaneki's hoping that Dez comes out first.
Barrage waiting. Both the Pharahs are looking at these divas saying, use your defense matrix. I dare you. Night God's found some nice space. It's going to be Kaneki with the first one. Somehow managed to get headlocked even though they're defense matrix the whole time. Night God will trade out for one more of their own. X-Ray knocked out the map. It's an even fight. Complete chaos on point. But it's Kaneki finding the calm through it all. Pops the Transcendence, keeps the team alive. Just has to do a lot of Pharah, but it's so difficult to hold on here. It's T1W looking like they can stabilize.
Riven takes Nightguard out of the way, so T1W not out of the woods just yet. They still have to contest the D.Va bomb, but Riven deciding without a team, they're not going to use it. They're going to hold on to that ultimate. This is going to be dangerous for T1W, right? They're going to be running up against the tank ultimates for both of Team Chaser's tanks. And that means that the second that Headlock sets up the shield, they're going to be forced out of that space.
Oh, and losing Bins here is not what you want, to say the least. A one-man advantage is tough to bring back. Oh, and as I say that, Akita managed to do exactly that. Connecting the backline, though. Bomb will catch out one. Akita's got to find a way to stabilize this fight, continue picking off members in that backline. It's only a matter of time till Headlock goes down, and with that, the rest of the team's going to follow.
And Freda onto the Tracer. And that means that there's no hit scan to try and keep Nightguard up in this game. In fact, both of these teams onto the Tracer, so it is going to be up to the Forest to take out their mirror. Godery down means that Team Chaser get a massive advantage, and the Hammer Mines are going to help that even more, but they still just aren't able to keep this payload moving.
Yeah, Team Chaser are really trying to call a good fight to disengage, but they haven't quite landed that 2-3 ultimate advantage that you want when you get a well-timed disengage, because T1W are being not super liberal in their usage of these ultimates. Instead, they're going to look for the engagement here. Pulse Bomb doesn't find much for Akita, but Nightgod's coming up on a barrage, so is Kaneki. We might get the dueling Faras yet again. Kaneki looking for an angle to get in now. There's not much here. Team Chaser hangs back, waiting for the right opportunity. Maybe they're waiting for the Nano to get in. There's a lot of ultimates coming online here in a second, but nothing seems to be particularly profitable.
And Pins did use the self-destruct. That was your moment to go for the barrage when the D.Va was out of mech. Now you have to worry about defense metrics, and there it is.
I mean, just make it look easy. T1W are playing patient Overwatch right now, and beautifully so. This is the coordination we expect out of them. How on earth did Langs get that res off? Nightgod will trade it back with at least a barrage for the time being. The T1W are they're only stable. They have not won this fight quite yet, but the tanks of Team Chaser are really struggling to move forward, and that's going to be the fight now.
Langs is onto the Brigitte. You've given up the pocket for Kaneki to try and keep Kyo alive a little bit longer, who in all of that had actually swapped onto the Ana to try and equalize Rebirth's output to be able to keep that front line up and around. And there's the swap. Kaneki is actually going to go onto this Umbra, acknowledging that Nightgod is the better, but that means that no one is contesting this far to just use the angle of that bridge and build up so much ult charge before the fight begins.
Kaneki with 30 seconds. This is not for the EMP. This is for the backline harass. They're trying for a pick, and they're going for Rebirth. Could it pay off? No, defense matrix is just too good from Bin. Now backing away, they get one more engagement here. Team Chaser, how do you want to line this up? Akita's a little far in the back line for comfort, but Team Chaser's completely split apart. There's 2 members forward, 4 members back. No clear engagement here. Kaneki's not quite in the position you want to be for a proper dive. Team Chaser, this does not look like a great push for them. It's going to be Build-A-Bear if anything, but here it is. The engagement they wanted. Time is ticking down. Overtime on. Headlock a little bit too far forward on the stairs. He's going to have to go back to recontest with the team. Nightgod drops low. Doesn't go down. Does! Eventually, Riven picks him off. With not a single ultimate to their name starting this fight off. Team Chaser made something of it. They found the 2 picks they need to finish this thing, and they're going to send themselves onto a point 3.
And that means that Kaneki has the opportunity to pull out but Fins is able to come back in. 2 kills to the self-destruct. Headlock able to put the shield up just in time. And Team Chaser, they fought. They were back. But Bins, with that double kill on the self-destructs, able to make sure that they grab the map back, and Kenobi and I are looking pretty smug right now.
Yeah, oh no, yeah, you guys definitely knew that 2-man bomb was coming. Come on! Bins, you're a monster. A credit where credit is due. I'm still a little mad. You're not allowed to get away with that. You lost that fight fair and square, and you like it just pulls a 2K bomb out of his back pocket. Like, come on. What a ridiculous bomb from Bins. What a way to close it out, but they'll even up the scoreline here with Team Chaser and T1W.
But I mean, T1W, come on. Take a moment. Bask in that beautiful defense on point B. It looked bad for them on point A. No one was really able to keep Kaneki or Abrita under wraps, and then as soon as we clicked onto that point B, the second that they had the space to work with, that's when this team were able to just come alive, keep getting those kills, keep Team Chaser locked in that combat for fight after fight after fight, and we didn't have clean fights. It wasn't one fight then done, the next fight then done. It was one fight, rolling in and rolling and still going. And all through it all, T1W were able to keep their focus and their ultimate charge completely in check.
I mean, there's a whole host of things, right? T1W is playing well, and I've got to, like, take a little dig at Team Chaser right now. That was some really sloppy Overwatch we saw on point B, right? There's 4 people chasing Akide around on Tracer, only killing him every once in a while 2 members tried to engage onto the backline of T1W. Both were unsuccessful, and then one would come in from chasing Akide. They'd try and regroup with the team and make a re-engage, but by then all the cooldowns were already down, and so it's just this awkward game of footsies that Team Chaser, like you said, could never really stabilize him, but I think it was just as nice as it was for T1W. I think Team Chaser kind of shot themselves in the foot there.
I will say that the cleanest that we actually got to see them push on point B was that last fight, right? When Kaneki swaps over to the Sombra and you pointed out it's not for the EMP. In the time that you've got left, it is for the harassment, trying to pull the Ana away and draw the line of focus away from the frontline fight so the rest of your team can get safely back in, because that was one of the major problems. They had to cross so much space, all the way from your spawn point, which is over here, all the way to where the payload is, which is all the way on the other side of my room. They did a really good job, and if they had ultimates, I think we would have seen them push that payload further, but because it took them
they did!
long...
They just died to a bomb! They won that fight! They just died to a bomb! I'm back in, like, 2016 to, like, Dave was just chucking out bombs and expecting 4Ks at this point. I don't know. I'm a little mad.
Pick up the play of the game, do the wave, make sure that you get the voice line, you know, nerf this.
It was nice. It was good stuff. T1W equalized the score. This series is ridiculous so far. I expect more great play from both sides, and ladies and gentlemen, we're getting it to you in just a second after this quick break. I have recovered from the stress of that Diva Bomb. It is not because I want Team Chaser to win. It's just, yeah, I'm not mad, I'm disappointed kind of stuff. Like, you had that push, everything. We're done. And you know what? We expected it to come in somewhere. We finally got some balance in Chinese Contenders. Okay, this team beats this team beats this team. Everything looks like clean 3-0s. But no, T1W is showing up. And you know what? If we ever expect a team to show up, it's T1W. They've done it time and time again. Hats off to them for upping the play. They looked incredible on that map, and they're looking to do it for a third. We're heading to Volskaya Industries here in just a second, Mox, to bring us into map number 3.
Oh, and I mean, if you're Team Chaser and T1W start off on the defense, that's awkward ground to be in, right? Because we just witnessed on Rialto how well T1W are able to turn a little bit of space that they're given into a whole amount of holds. And Volskaya Industries, if you've ever played Overwatch, that first choke to get through, it's not an easy task.
Yeah, and ironically, like, first is oftentimes almost more difficult to take than second on this map. Second tends to be a bit of a steamroll, but I think this takes less into question these teams' ability to stall out fights and necessarily hold for long periods of time. I'm looking at the attacking sides and them winning concise fights, because I'll be honest, neither of them convincingly won a lot of 66 fights. A lot of them were poke downs and slow rolls in. And when we're talking about point B, that's not enough.
And talking about poke rolls and slow rolls in, well, what better way to contest that than with the BAP and the break? You can't dive onto it because the bash is there, and you can't win the poke fight because the mortality field is there to bail out a death from actually happening. But I like this approach from Team Chaser. They almost know that Hetlot is going to be on the Orisa and trying to take advantage of this first choke. And how do you deal with fighting a choke? You just jump over it.
And they have to play their neutral rotations here for a bit with Double Bubble, build up the Nano onto Kyo. I think if we've watched some Chinese contenders, we know how this composition works by now. They're waiting to build up ultimates and build up charge so they can get those rotations in. I mean, that's kind of the goal, right? Get those first ultimates off, win point A, transition into your second set of ultimates as Double Bubble. It's a story written in the Chinese contenders and notes, tablets, and cave paintings while we're at it. They've made a lot of space while doing it. They don't even need the ultimate to get this far. T1W have been pushed back to the point.
Yeah, T1W had actually hold up on the high ground with the Brigida to make sure that Team Chaser did not get the time to sidestep that damage, but now they're fighting on the point, and that is not where a dive composition wants to be, into that side room. No mobility for them. T1W actually wisely pulling back and forcing Team Chaser to try and catch them.
And I love the contest by Night God right now, doing such an excellent job on the Tracer, making sure they've got to watch from 2 angles. The Team Chaser aren't done yet. We've been forced into this back room. That health is only going to go onto one player. And I think they've got enough picks to finish this thing off. X-Ray was but a sacrificial lamb for Ribbon to get in with this high charge Zarya onto the high ground, onto the tanks, so they can make space for the real DPS to do something.
Well, if you want to talk about real DPS, that is going to be this next fight in a nutshell. Kyo has the Nano, Kaneki is in position with the Blade. They want to make this a one and done push. And well, they've definitely got the ultimate charge to be able to let them do just that. Rebuff has got to get an absolutely huge, not only immortality field drop, but amplification matrix to keep Team Chaser from being able to capitalize on the space this Genji is about to make.
And if they wanted to, they've even got the liberty to wait for a Graviton if they wanted to. They're not going to, though. In comes the Nano Blade. Kaneki takes down at least mortality field. It's one. Not able to get more than that. The team makes space and 2 trades back here. T1W looks so good here. What a fight by them. Great disengage.
Huge immortality field coming out, making sure that that Blade does not find anything. And not only that, but amplification matrix was invested as well to make sure that Team Chaser weren't able to help their Genji out, because he dashed in before Graviton was ready. The follow-up was not there from this team, and now they have to put their eggs into the basket of Dragon Strike comboed up with Graviton, which, surprise, can be countered by the exact same thing.
I mean, in their defense, they still do have an ultimate advantage coming into this fight. This is not an easy one for T1W, but there is a D.Va on the other side, and there's a lot running on the back of Bins. Or a Night God, I guess. Open up the fight with the pulse on that'll end things real quick.
Yeah, you don't want to push in when your Ana is down, especially not when you've got a Graviton, because you're going to be relying on that anti-nade to come through, land between that defense matrix, and let all of that damage not be allowed to be healed up. And oh, a Predator just hops up, catches Night God, and oh, you wanted a little bit of your medicine. There it is.
That is, in the business, what we like to call being Hanzo. It happens at any point in the game. There's like a 5% chance you're just going to get an arrow to the head. And you know, it's unfortunate. That's a nice grab, though. That's a really nice grab. Oh, my God. Through the floor. Dragon Strike catches for 2. Prita follows up. Gorgeous call by Riven to make that play underneath, where the D.Va's never going to be expecting to eat it. It lines up a clean follow-up from the Dragon. They start taking up this point B. They've got all the control they want. They've just got to keep the players off it. Recontest now for Bin, starting things off, but there's not a clear follow-up. Ant Matrix is the only thing T1W have, and it's not the cleanest thing they've got. Instead, it's just a Nano Blade behind that Ant Matrix. Team Chaser, they're going to be cleaning this one up with time on the clock.
I mean, they won that point the second that Graviton came out. Not only
that was so nice.
Did it make sure that the defense matrix wasn't in position, it completely caught up Rebirth right into the wall. He was not able to try and throw a mortality field. It wouldn't have bounced in the right position to be able to catch anyone out but himself. And by that one Graviton, Team Chaser just completely denied any of the support utility that T1W had been relying on up until that point. It took them a couple of pushes, but the second that they downloaded T1W strategy, Team Chaser were coming to play.
Yeah, I mean, I can dote over that grab all time. I mean, Rebirth was literally a millimeter out of position and got caught with one of the most creative grabs we've seen in a hot minute, but that's neither here nor there. It's T1W's turn to push. Let's take a look at the composition they're locking in order to do exactly that.
Well, first we get to have a little bit of an eyeful of what Team Chaser are going to be running out of the gates on their defense, and this is very much a we're going to come calling into your composition before you can have anything to say in ours.
And, you know, we talked a little bit earlier about having a Prita flex onto other characters. Kaneki is really allowing them to do that. Kaneki is, no offense, not a Prita on Trace, but certainly putting up a real solid performance. And a Prita is been allowed to go on to numerous heroes, right? We've seen Sombra, we've seen Soldier played, we've seen McCree played. This is great.
Yeah, and I mean, as well as that, Kaneki is going to be that distraction, that sacrificial lamb that we saw Team Chaser put up on that point A push, right? Everyone is going to be so busy dealing with Kaneki, making sure that he doesn't get through to that support lineup, that who's going to be dealing with the hit scan that a Prita is putting down all the way at the back of this point?
That's a question that, fortunately, I don't have to answer, Moxie. Now we just get to watch him poke it out. It's Night God versus Kaneki in the side lane here. As T1W regroup themselves, and not much goes down. They need to find a way to get in here and actually make the space. And I have no doubt that they will be able to. They're just waiting for Night God to get into position, maybe contest that high ground, wrap around the side, but Kaneki's having nothing of it. Instead, T1W have to push in without the help of their Tracer and are at the mercy of a Prita and his Helix rockets.
Yeah, Team Chaser know that if they wait a little bit longer, they're not going to catch a Tracer, they're going to catch an entire team. And that lot on that Orisa is a lot harder to move around than a Brit who gets to blink forward every couple of meters. And they know they've got the advantage, they've got the choke. Sooner or later, T1W, no matter if Night God's able to get into that backline, have to start taking these steps forward, and there is nothing when they do to stop a Brit from getting so much damage in.
And Soldier's such a good pick. I mean, we've seen it kind of here as a pocket pick for a long time on this point A, but it just looks so good. X-Ray now, great dive, will catch out Rebirth for the time being, and T1W are kind of giving a little bit of their own medicine after watching that B point on Rialto.
I mean, this is cruel. Team Chaser only needs to get one pick before this fight starts, and T1W are just going to have to move all the way back. This composition relies on everyone being alive, and Rebirth has had enough. Diana is coming out. Hetlot is going to be a little bit more substantial trying to move forward, but you still have to worry about this dive coming through. Team Chaser have built up ultimates. They can keep you at this choke as long as they want.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I think this comes back to what we saw in map number 1, where I'm just like, Team 1W have got to find some confidence, right? The only ultimate you have up, 2 minutes in, is a pulse bomb. This is, it's a little too long. Kaneki will have their Z. No, great job by Bin. And Night Gods does connect, so hell, maybe one ultimate is enough to do it for T1W as they start their push towards the point here.
Yeah, Kyogon means no orb of Discord, nothing to keep bumping T1W full of damage, or even if Diana goes down, the brick should be more than enough to keep this Orisa sustained on the point, but X-Ray with the Hammond Binds is coming through, and this is what we talked about. Orisa is a lot harder to move around this point. You don't have anything to really contest this high ground outside of Bims on the lone D.Va, and that's going to get burned through by Riven Zarya.
Oh, and a Prita smells blood in the water. Trying to push, repositions over to the opposite high ground. Oh my god, a Prita again. We've seen this out of them. Just really smart positioning. Playing Ring Around the Rosie. The second that T1W try and move in on them, they're out of the way. They're somewhere else. The ticks start moving back up, though, and Team Chaser have got to find another answer because clearly the damage isn't quite enough.
Well, they don't have defense matrix, so that is why we're seeing Akide colored up with the electricity, using that Deadeye to keep Team Chaser zoned off this point. Someone's got to touch. X-Ray's given the Zarya bubble, but it lasts not but a second. And that's all T1W need to be able to pick up this point and start moving through as Team Chaser get caught out in staggers.
Oh, and there's so much more hurt to come. T1W have got a fair chunk of ultimate. Team Chaser have got one grab and one pulse bomb coming up for Kaneki, and they've got to make it count.
I mean, Binz has got to get the Z though. Because T1W aren't running anything to negate the damage, the follow-up that this Graviton is going to come through. But even if you fail to hit the Graviton, you can eat the pulse bomb that comes after.
Oh, maybe there's nothing to eat. Kyo finds the first pick, and again, we know how much T1W don't actually want to play a lot of these 5v6 fights, but they're going for it this time, and the bomb catches out Riven. The grab pulse bomb combo is no longer there. It's all up to Kaneki to land this bomb onto somebody. Something bombs out, no connection. Akide finds the pick onto him. Team Chaser slowly bleeding out here on point B as the time banks will look about dead even for the time being. Let's see how much they can shave off here as they look to re-engage with a rally of Visor and a Graviton of their own.
And Graviton coming through, you can hear it, no heat coming through. But Team Chaser, Proto's not in position to use the tech. No one was touching the point. T1W 2 minutes to Team Chaser's 2-minute 5, and we go again in Volskaya.
This push proudly brought to you by Channel 9 News. All right. Well, that's that. It wouldn't be a Chinese Contenders Day without a C9, and it was only like a half C9, right? They were being held off the point to their credit, but T1W played an excellent push.
I mean, even if you're able to keep touching that point, the Graviton would have expired. Would you have had ultimates to be able to continue? Delaying the inevitable, but if you're Team Chaser, you're going to be looking at that time back at how close it is, and if it comes down to those seconds, that's not a scene you're going to be looking back fondly on.
Yeah, hindsight really is 20/20 in these kind of situations, but I think hindsight might be clear as day for Team Chaser. They want to swap a Predator over to the Hanzo, get that consistent damage back and going. The Soldier was nice, but a Predator just wants to harass those shields the same way they have been prior on the Hanzo.
And this is something that Team Chaser can really bolt into, right? It took them a lot faster of a time bank to pick up that first point in comparison to T1W, who really struggled to move Hetlot in past that choke, and already starting Rebirth fight on this Ana instead of trying to go for the Zen, to go for that damage instead of sustainability is a great move from this attacking team, because they know that Team Chaser are going to be looking to win these fights with 1 kill at a time.
They nearly find one well on the Night God. That was a well-timed volley. Not enough to win you a fight. T1W, they want to wrap this left side. They're not going to be nearly as hesitant as they were last time. They understand the mistakes that they made, but Team Chaser actually changing up the style of their own, holding a lot further forward than they did in the first round when T1W managed to take over the point.
Yeah, the dive going to be coming through, but only after T1W have tried to transverse past this choke, and it does mean that X-Ray is actually out of line of sight for the rest of the team to be able to keep that Hammond up and around, and that means that T1W get a lot more space, but also it's a lot slower of a push. They want to take this high ground to set Hetlot up for the best possible position for an Orisa. Team Chaser, X-Ray's going to be coming back in just a couple of seconds, and you wait too long, everything that you're setting up is going to be knocked right to the ground.
I really like that little stall, though, by T1W. It allows them to get the anti-nade back up. It allows them to get their 6th player back into the fight. The spawns are further for Team Chaser. The position is better. This is exactly where we were when T1W won their first push the first time, but instead of Kyo finding Rebirth, that's the main support down. That is no small pick for Team Chaser. That is a fight winner, Oxy.
And T1W, just as they waited for their utilities to back up, Team Chaser waits until they figured out where Rebirth is playing. The second Diana goes down, that break is just not enough without that rally. And again, we're going to see T1W having to go through the gauntlet that is this choke, but now you have to worry. The mines are about to come up. Aprida's got a Dragon Strike. You've got 27 seconds to touch the point, and Rebirth are actually swapping onto the BAP, so if an ultimate comes through before they see the point, they can use a Mortality Field to keep everyone alive through it.
Remember last time, Night God was the only one with an ultimate. It connected, it was the only thing that opened up point A. Team Chaser has a whole host of options. If Night God connect this one, pulse bomb might be. If the Dragon's in, the Immortality Field is out. Team Chaser have got the main support, and it looks like they can clean this thing up without letting it tick through. They've just got to find these follow-up fixes. T1W look to push the point. Team Chaser, a couple members actually looking towards the spawn, wisely turn around. That is not necessarily the most difficult thing, but it's good heads up Overwatch, and I like to see him keeping it calm.
Oh, Night God just trying to keep the overtime bar burning. Actually blinks right into the hammer mine. There's nothing for them to do but throw themselves onto the point in desperation. And Team Chaser, just by holding onto those ultimates, using that choke, knowing that Dragon Strike, even if it pulls like Immortality Field, is going to split the team. And you can see immediately moving into position to be able to catch those pieces as they fall, splitting themselves, half steal the front line, and the rest chasing down the supports, making sure that no one can turn and peel, no one can wrangle themselves into an order to be able to actually put together an overtime push. Team Chaser have done a very good job at setting themselves up. They barely need a single moment on that first part of point A to be able to take this map.
And they've got a lot of options. We've seen them run all sorts of stuff, but it's back on to old reliable. I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I know Kaneki's good enough to get up a blade in this amount of time. Kyo, obviously, I mean, alongside X-Ray, more than good enough to get a nano. They've got a win condition. The Graviton could come. They play the neutral well. They win this. If they get picked off repeatedly by Team Chaser, it might just end in a draw.
Well, T1W are running a pretty much denial composition, right? Bins on the Diva is going to be able to use the defense matrix just in case Riven is able to get that Graviton online. Akita with the flashbang is going to make sure that your supports are a little bit safer. Dodori already with the Brig shield up, ready, poised for when Team Chaser try and take the high ground away from them. And through all of that, Rebirth on this fact, he doesn't need to build up to an ultimate. He's already going to have the immortality field to save Headlock for when the dive comes through. It's really good heads up, substantial, stable play from a defense.
What you want, but sometimes you need a little playmaking. Team Chaser looking at their neutral game. Last time we saw them sacrifice their Winston in return for space, recognizing they wouldn't get much more out of their main tank than that. It looks like they're actually lining up to do the exact same thing. X-Ray moving forward very aggressively. Still does have jump to get out should they need it. Team Chaser stabilize again. Excellent bubble rotation. They're getting every last bit of juice out of this that they possibly can. With Night God poking around the backline, it's just a matter of time before one of these picks come true for either team. Up on top, X-Ray has them in an extremely uncomfortable position, but the amplification matrix allows T1W to fight back. Solid stuff from them. Both bins out of mech. All of a sudden, the defense matrix is no longer a problem.
Oh, and that's a nasty anti-nade coming through onto both of the tanks from T1W. Forces the immortality field out early, but no one's actually able to burn it down. The damage is still there. And because of that Dragon Strike, no one is able to contest the point, and Team Chaser walk away with a very fast point A and a second map beneath their belt.
That looked like a really good map for them. Even though there was, I think, one play that kind of really stood out for me for T1W, which was the disengage off of the Nano Blade. That was a very solid play. Night God finding the stick on point A was also pretty nice for them. Outside of that, it looked like it was a little bit more normal T1W, and Team Chaser turned up, right? Creative Gravitons, Riven stepping up. They look incredible regardless of what they're playing on. Aprita was flexing. The Hanzo looks great. The Soldier looks great. This team looks like they're coming into the latter half of this series with some real stuff up their belt.
Yeah, this is the Team Chaser that we know and we absolutely adore to see. So creative. And you touched on that Graviton. We're always going to love that Graviton. And I hope we get to see it in the highlight reel coming up because it deserves its place and more. And Riven has really impressed, like, coming into this team, being there, helping X-Ray on the Winston get a little bit more safety. The bubble rotations have been so on point. And Q has been able to keep up that nano boost charge coming in absolutely huge when this team needs everyone in this team is firing on all cylinders.
And I think that's what a lot of the compositions today, right now, really demand. Whether you're running double bubble or whether you're running something like a ball composition, you're really looking to have a team that has 6 individuals that all have some carry potential. And as much as this team last season was clearly defined by Aprita and supporting crew, every single one of these players has made a play today. Kyo found a huge pick on the Rebirth. Langs has had some clutch rallies. Riven's looked amazing with the Gravitons. X-Ray has played the Winston incredibly. I don't see, honestly, a single player here who I'm not like, they look incredible. And that is very, very different from the Chaser of past.
Yeah, and I mean, it wasn't even like it was just the Aprita show in Season 1, right? We even had talks about this in between ourselves where it looked on paper in the kill feed that, yes, it was Aprita coming in and Aprita picking up all of this damage and winning all of these fights. But beneath the surface, you pause those fights, you go back in, you look at the replays, and you can see that the team is doing everything in their darndest power to set this Tracer up. The difference now is that he's not on Tracer, and it's a lot more obvious how much resources Chaser are able to pool into their DPS and pull off all of the stops to set them up.
Yeah, I mean, the meta's different, the team is different, but now the series is different. It's no longer a 3-0 like some of us predicted. Thank you very much to One Diva Bomb, but regardless of that, we get a map 4, and oh boy. I mean, look, if there is a map to go for here, it's got to be King Throw. I feel like you're remiss if you don't run it. I'm really curious to see what we get. I'm kind of suspecting a little bit of double bubble, but if one of these teams has like a pocket Ryan comp, maybe we get a surprise.
I don't think we're going to be seeing the Ryan come out because, I mean...
Yeah, it is China.
Without the Lucio, even if it wasn't this region, would you be able to get him safely into the fight, into the defense, past the choke, into the statue, onto that point, with your shield, and the rest of the team behind you still intact? I don't think so. And that's precisely why we're seeing Team Chaser running something that goes for a little bit of a hybrid between. You've still got the shield, you've still got a little bit of that point stability in Riven's Aura, so that X-Ray can play double trouble with Kaneki's Tracer.
And that's really the name of the game. Just try and stay on top of it. But Team Chaser, do they lock the ballers? I mean, this is something that we actually have seen before in Chinese contenders, particularly on, I think it was Lijiang Garden that we saw it run. And it actually won the match that it was played in. And Team Chaser playing it here, gonna look confident. I suppose the ball is probably gonna play the same role that a Faro would on a lot of these comps, right? Touch the point, harass the backline, and kind of swap between those two, because it's just gonna be a 5-man squad for the rest of the team.
Yeah, Night God though can just wrap around, make sure that Team Chaser don't really have the hit scan. The only thing that can properly contest is the tank lineup, and Riven is taking an absolute hammering. The Orisa finally falling. T1W can start moving forward now that that tank is gone.
Yeah, you had to feel like the objective was to keep the team on the high ground for that and then let X-Ray contest, but instead, X-Ray was nowhere near, and Riven was effectively forced to contest. So I think it was a minor misstep by Team Chaser that ended up being the doing there of them, but they have been given just enough time to recontest this point. They will be back in, and Aprita's got a dragon to make this count. See how he wants to line it up. Oh my god, he's done it again. Hanzo Rebirth, eventually, it's a matter of time, right? Hanzo, yes, your skill can increase the odds of those arrows connecting, but no matter what, it's like a monkeys on typewriter situation. Eventually, one of those arrows is going to write Shakespeare.
I mean, some of those arrows have to have magnets in them, right? They just got little homing beacons in them. As Akita's actually going to swap onto the Sombra. As X-Ray's antics have apparently not been that well received on the side of T1W, and now if the Hammond does try and go for a little bit of a dive or even contest both the high ground and the low ground, allowing Team Chaser both their seats and the point in their possession, it's going to be just a little bit harder to maintain.
Yeah, it feels a lot more comfortable, but on the same side, T1W with Night God, this is a critical swap because there's not really many counters to it. You can throw as many arrows as you want. It's not going to guarantee a kill, but that will. Kyo gets in the face of Night God, who trades out. Now it's all up to Kaneki to hold on to this one, and although Binz eats the Pulse Bomb, which notably, Binz has been eating a lot of Pulse Bombs tonight, it's not enough to win you the fight.
It's not enough to eat the Dragon Strike that comes out when the Pulse Bomb fails either, and Team Chaser still able to stabilize. T1W, they've got the barrage, they've got the now to give it an extra little bit of oomph. You don't have the space to be able to safely get the Pharah in to be able to start using it. And Team Chaser relocating once more.
Chaser's job is to survive here, and well, they failed at that on two fronts. They had a Transcendence and they had mines to recontest, but when there's only 4 players, it's not really worth using.
I mean, I really like that T1W anticipated Team Chaser pulling away, but they didn't use the Transcendence. They can still come back in. There it is, mines on point, and T1W, they've got the EMP, but they don't want to use it. If they can hold on to it and make sure that they can win the next fight and not have to worry about the choke. And it seems like they're doing just that.
Wow. I mean, look, that was impressive from Team Chaser to see that level of confidence, but just as much so T1W. Another beautiful disengage from this team, and as much as I've said before in this series that I want to see them try and take their front foot a little bit more often, they do play really well when they're on the defensive.
But EMP was invested. And if Team Chaser are able to organize themselves back in, and that's precisely why Kaneki is putting up such a fight right now, they win this next fight, they get to hold T1W at choke. And when you're running far on the attack, the second you don't have that free space to start off the fight where you're already in the air, Aprita gets 2 free shots, and that's more than enough to be able to take you out.
On top of that, Akita goes down, so that fight that you were talking about winning, it's not necessarily won, but it's one step closer to being won. Team Chaser with the Pulse Bomb now, though, and Night God with nearly a barrage and that Nano Boost. Despite the matter of the DPS ultimate, keep an eye on him. Nano Boost in, onto the Pharah, up over top, on top of the support line. Kyo's the first one down, spots out Langsa and smells blood. Goes for it immediately. T1W, the door's open and has been cracked entirely wide. Team Chaser forced back through here deep.
so smart the way that T1W are playing between the Pharah and the Hammond too, because the Predator is trying to deal with both of those. You need the flashbang to keep the Hammond in check, but you need the hit scan to keep the Pharah out of the way, and by putting both of them in the same package parcel and leaving it on Team Chaser's doorstep on every single one of these fights, the Kree just doesn't have enough time to be able to deal with both, and T1W get free fight win after free fight win.
And they still look like they're going to get another one, right? There's still Barrage on. There's a lot of ultimates coming up for Stolen. Team Chaser, I mean, it's a pulse bomb, and not to doubt Kaneki, but that's a lot to... Ah, that hurts. That hurts. That's insult to injury. It prints off the map. I mean, it's not like they stood much of a chance at this fight to begin with. Finz eats another pulse bomb to top things off, and Team Chaser just can't catch a break.
Well, Nightgod's taking a nap, but that means that there's no sleep dart to keep Akide's EMP in check, and Prayer is actually onto the Widowmaker. That goes to show just how much this guy has been bothered by Nightgod's Pharah. And surprise, you're moving into point C. Pharah's not going to be a thing anymore. Now you have to outduel a Hanzo.
That's a bit of a tricky ask, right? A Predator could get spammed out here, or could find some big picks. It's been a long time since we've seen their Widowmaker really come into play, but pushing into this fight, you're looking at 2 support ultimates either side. It could be a long one.
Well, Team Chaser are actually going to be swapping their tanks as well. Riven onto the Zarya so that X-Ray can get this dive composition with that bubble. You get your charge up. Kyo does have the nano boost, so if they want this fight to last, they can make it, but not with a Predator going down so early. I
mean, they put a Predator on the signature hero, saying, hey, this is going to do something, and then you just get domed by Nightgod, who's been a bit of a monster on the Hanzo for being real.
With the Diva Bomb, you love to see Joe waiting in the wings for Akide's EMP to be up and around, but if you're running against the Zarya, there's no shield to have to worry about curving it around.
I mean, you do have to wait till you're awake to use the bomb, as it turns out. Rally is popped for Team Chaser. That was actually just enough time. That was just enough time. The sleep buys them enough to get the rally off and engage. They want to push past this bomb. They do so. Team Chaser have learned from their former mistakes and now go for a re-engage. A beautifully played fight so far. They've got T1W all the way on the back foot. The health bars are razor thin, but they can't quite find the kills box. They pushed them all the way back to spawn without killing a single person.
Okay, silver lining. This fight going on so long does mean that Riven has built up 75% of the way to a Graviton. Unfortunately, that Graviton is going to be pretty hard to capitalize on, given the fact that, well, I was going to say there might be a Diva Bomb to be able to come out on top, but it's the Hammer Mines that you're going to have to worry about stopping any sort of progresses. Akide's EMP could be the one thing that stops Team Chaser from getting as aggressive as they want to be. They know it's on board. They're not going to go aggressive and lose one player and get steamrolled over by T1W.
Yeah, I love Team Chaser, though, going for that EMP. And can you find the head? This is actually a tricky shot.
I mean, the Zarya bubbles. No way, there's a translocator.
Wow, that was great by Team Chaser. Good coordination to get in there. And now mine for T1W. They engage first early here, trying to capitalize on splitting this team in half. They'd love nothing more than to save this EMP for finishing the map off. Akide being so careful on the trigger here. But they just don't have the space they want. Aprita, AFK for a second, but he's back. All good. Waiting for a blink, I suppose. And now the real engagement's in. Akide still holding onto this EMP. Finally pops it. It only hits 2, though. It's Riven and Langsa in the backline. There's no capitalization for T1W. Now it's Team Chaser's turn. In comes the Graviton. It's caught onto 2, but it looks like it's going to be enough.
That's all you need to also zone T1W out. The second the Graviton comes through, they have to move out. And
time's low.
That's when this composition gets a little bit scary. And T1W, 15 seconds. They've been pushed all the way back into their spawn. They're going to be walking right into an EMP and Hammer Mines, and they're all clumped up. They're all going to get caught out.
EMP catches 3, and that should be enough to get Team Chaser through this. And now, 3 seconds on, the cart not getting there.
Oh no.
Quite Akide. No, there's no back. There's no back. I'm not. Look, I've seen a lot of crazy stuff today. I'm not adding that to the list. I refuse to. Team Chaser does as well, and they'll stop it at point 2, but you've got to be having flashbacks right now to Rialto. It felt the exact same, right? Some good stall at B, great stall at C. You stop him just before the end of the map. You're feeling good. Now Team Chaser just has to do what, seems like a trivial task, but not get full held at B.
And that's the really scary thing about King's Row, right? There are so many opportunities for that payload to stop permanently. Sometimes you don't even get to see it unlock at all. Point A can be such a pain. You have to wait for ultimates. You have to be able to contest both the high ground and the point itself at the same time. Then you have to have more in the bank left over to carry in for that grapple over the first choke. And then, if the payload stops at any point on that C push, the defense just get an absolute stranglehold.
About timing, though, for that stranglehold. One thing we have to remember, right? It was something Team Chaser didn't really get to do. They tried to get their push in with the perfect timing, but they didn't. T1W have a couple opportunities to capitalize on that themselves, as well as some mixed match composition to try and make the push. Team Chaser back onto what won them the previous map. It's a double bolt.
It's gonna be T1W on their defense, opting in for the Orisa and the D.Va yet again. And I mean, Thins on the D.Va has been doing such a good job. The defense matrix, the eats, the D.Va buffs coming out. And honestly, the peel coming through. If you're going to be running the Zen Brigada, you want to have that safety line. The defense matrix is going to be there in the form of that peel, because Team Chaser, they're running dive, baby. It's the bubble dive with Kaneki on the Genji, and that means if Rebirth is left alone for a singular second, that Zen is as good as dead.
I gotta say, this is a gorgeous team playing a gorgeous composition. It may not be, right, the Wrecking Ball, the Orisa, it's still perfectly viable, but the level that we see the teams and Chinese contenders play this composition at is ridiculous, right? Having the wherewithal to trade your Winston out, to sacrifice him earlier on, was one of the most impressive things I've seen. Oh my god, Kyo is doing overtime right now to keep these tanks alive. What the heck? That was ridiculous.
Yeah, T1W actually seeing that X-Ray was super low, jumped back to the Ana. They'd sent Night God and Rebirth both as a hit squad to try and get those tanks down before the fight starts, but they weren't able to, and already 83% of the way to a nano.
Oh, Kaneki finds a beautiful dive into the backline here, but they're separated away. Team Chaser's in about 3 different places right now, but they've done enough damage to win the fight just before then. No re-engage possibility here for T1W. Should be a clean A for Team Chaser, leaving them with a healthy time bank going into point B. Mox, when was the last time I said that?
Well, definitely not this King's Row, as Team Chaser are going to be coming in with a healthy chunk of ultimates. And I mean, if you're T1W, no wonder you're swapping onto the Kree. You go up against a Nano Blade in Street Space where you're all cramped up in these close quarters, you have to be able to land some form of CC to stop that Genji in their tracks.
Yeah, there's not many ways through this fight other than just trying to get this Transcendence up in time, maybe. But even that isn't like a guaranteed counter. Prison your backline now with the Pulse Bomb. He could try and force that out, but with Bins on this D.Va, I'm not sure there's ever going to be a Pulse Bomb, if we're being completely honest with ourselves. Seems hungry still. Now the fight's starting to line up for each of these teams. Langsa building towards a rally of their own. Both teams really patient, though, as T1W finally pushes the engage. Aprita connects the Pulse Bomb because he's Aprita. Now the Nano Blade through, forces a frag onto Dotary. Even through the Transcendence, it's going to be enough to get the pick as Team Chaser looks for another clean fight.
Yeah. Able to burn out that Transcendence and still get the tanks, and Team Chaser move forward unimpeded, and they've got a Graviton, they've got a Primal, they've got a Rally. Kaneki says, okay, job done. I got us through Street Space. I'm going to move on to the Somber and make sure that Rebirth just does not get to play Overwatch anymore.
They know how close they are to this finish line right now. All they need to do is get into C with some momentum. They're feeling great about this. Night God with the Pulse Bomb could shut things down. We've seen them do it before, but that's a tall ask for anybody right now. Is really just waiting for the right opportunity to get this Graviton surge through, and there it is. Immediately hacked out. I mean, we saw it earlier. Poor D.Va's being harassed time and time again, but the fight's not over. It's 2 for 2. Attack is in a slight advantage right now. As Team Chaser do have a rally to keep themselves going for the time being. Bomb forces everybody back. Team Chaser again having flashbacks to the last time that happened. Cart nearly progressing forward. Aprita looking for a dive, has a Pulse Bomb up, sticks it onto the D.Va. Should go for the remake here. Both teams coming up to about 6 members right now, but no clear advantage being given.
T1W need to get these Hammond Mines on point now. Headlock Solo still able to survive, but Team Chaser, they've got the kills and the kill feed. T1W might just have to hold on to these ultimates and carry them through into this next fight. Remember, point C is one of the hardest points in all of King's Row to properly unlock, and that's something that T1W are going to have to be holding sacred. Kaneki going to be holding on to that EMP, and now it becomes a game of chicken. Headlock cannot throw those those mines in, but EMP comes out, otherwise that ultimate cancels them out entirely.
Yeah, there's so much value to be had from this EMP, whether it's beating the Zen before you can use Transcendence or taking them down, or canceling the mines. Looking for an early engage, so T1W have found their one pick. It's riven down, a lot of damage taken away. It's traded out for Night God now, as X-Ray looks to push into the back line. Another Pulse Bomb's going to connect on the Bins, and Night God's just throwing them out like they're nothing. Same thing for Aprita, though. As X-Ray regroups on the high ground here, Team Chaser don't want everything in this fight quite yet. They don't have a clear re-engage, though. It's only rally against Transcendence. The T1W is going to pop their trump card.
Yeah, T1W forced to use that Transcendence to keep Rebirth alive as the dive came through from the X-Ray, and that means it's run out. T1W's time is running out to stop this payload as Team Chaser, all of the damage, all of the sustain. He is going to be coming into this EMP, but can you get the ultimate charge online fast enough to be able to use it before that payload hits the finish line?
Get it right now. Stagger for the time being. Stay alive, though. You're close to an EMP. Does exactly that. Blocking the pulse bomb Dotary so important. That could have taken down 2 players if they weren't careful. Now Aprita is out for blood. It feels like it's been this entire map, just pushing them back. No touch on the card, and it's Team Chaser taking away the day. 3-1.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you get that EMP online, you're able to catch everyone around that payload. You've got the respawns fast enough to be able to get back onto that payload and capitalize on the moment. But everyone was focusing that Sombra down. Everyone on Team Chaser knew just how close they were to being sent back to that spawn room. And you have to give it up to these guys, right? That mentality, that focus to be able to go after those players and hound them constantly was what allowed them to just move through King's Row so seamlessly.
Yeah, and there was no stoppage, right? Good use of ultimates, good rolling, everything we expected from Kings. But let's zoom out a little bit. Let's look at the whole series right now, because Team Chaser looks completely reborn, right? Last time it was a very good team doing a very good job of supporting Aprita, and then Aprita really taking that on their back and playing through a lot of these games. This time, entirely different. This looks like a well-oiled machine. It looks like everything you want. That double bubble was some of the best I've seen, and I've been casting Chinese Contenders for a hot minute now, which is really saying something. The level of flexibility they had with it was incredible. They looked great, but we've got to highlight one player, and it's going to be Kaneki.
Yeah, this guy is fitting into this team so perfectly. You want to talk about stacked DPS lineups? Kaneki and Aprita is something to be super terrified of if you're going up against these teams. And honestly, though, I'm really looking forward to seeing the matchup of Team Chaser's DPS versus Billy's tomorrow.
I mean, we talk a lot about what maps teams are really good at in particular. And last season, one of the big reasons why we thought BLG really had a trump card over Team Chaser was because of those control points and because they were able to so effectively maneuver in and out of them. And Aprita really had a hard time getting enough picks to win those fights, even with the team backing it up constantly. I think that might change. That DPS change is huge. Like, did you see what Kaneki and Aprita did to them? Completely dismantled that team. And now you talk about all the different Pharahs that we get, right? We're talking about Night God, we're talking about Kaneki, we're talking about what we saw. Oh my god, what we saw in the last game. We don't even need to mention that. That was not safe for work. Now, what do BLG have to offer? Can they tackle that? This team looks incredible right now.
I mean, I think, and I know that I'm probably going to be sharing sentiments by a lot of people watching right now. I hope that it goes to a full 5 map between those 2 teams tomorrow, because oh boy, would we be in for some absolutely amazing Overwatch. But no matter what results go the way, we are still in for some amazing Overwatch, because honestly, it's just beginning. This is opening day of the normal playoff season for Chinese Contenders Season 2. We've got so much more to come.
Oh, that it is. Let's take a look at tomorrow's schedule. I believe it'll be Billy Gaming up against Team Chaser, and then following that, Up Academy versus T1W. Up, who look like they had some real good stuff. If they can bring it, have a clutch player, have a couple people step up, find that execution, they could really contest T1W. And after watching that game with Team Chaser, I'm not entirely convinced that that 3-0 that we saw earlier on in the season is fairly representative of where these teams are right now.
No, T1W did an absolute stellar job at trying to meet Team Chaser, and we saw, right, they were able to grab one map, and at other points it really looked like they would take a couple more. And honestly, Up Academy, they've got their work cut out if we see T1W on form like we saw them today.
Yeah, and it's just a matter of time until then. Ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow, same time, same place, all the Chinese Contenders action that you could want, followed by one more day after that if you want to catch a grand finals. As for tonight, though, that's all Moxie and I have for you. Thank you guys so much for watching from everyone here at the production team. We'll see you then.